The Senate will come to order. The senators will please take their seats. Those persons not entitled to the privilege of the floor will please retire to the gallery. The senators and all in attendance will stand and be led in prayer by the Reverend Amy Russell, Unitarian Universalist Community Church, Glen Allen, Virginia. Reverend?
Please pray with me. Dearest God, source of all being, may we this day be grateful for the gift of life which is ours, remembering today and always that the life we have and hold is to us a mystery and a blessing. May we this day be reminded of the responsibilities we carry, not so that we are overwhelmed, but so that we may be true to them and faithful in carrying them forward. May we this day be inspired in the work that we do to bless others as we are so blessed. Amen.
Amen. Madam Clerk, good morning. How are you doing? Roll. All those in attendance will please record their vote aye. Clerk will close the roll.
You have a quorum, Mr. President. Senate Journal for Thursday, February 8th, 2018.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner, moves that the reading of the journal be waived. All in favor of waiving the reading of the journal will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 3.
Ayes 34, noes 3. The reading of the journal is waived. The clerk will report any communications from the House of Delegates. The senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, if we have a communication from the House of Delegates, I move that we waive the reading of said communication.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall the reading of the communication be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading of the communication from the House of Delegates will please record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 35, noes 2.
Ayes 35, noes 2. The reading of the communication from the House of Delegates is waived. The clerk will report any communication from the governor.
We do not have any, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now comes the time in the morning hour where we greet our distinguished guests and visitors here to the Senate Gallery. I'll give my daily friendly reminder that the way this will proceed is that the senator will stand up, recognize the individual or group. I will then offer the warm welcome of the Senate, and then we will all give greetings and clap together. The senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I stand for the purposes of an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Mr. President, in the gallery today, we have a number of former pages. Mr. President, when I had been in the legislature only about 8 years, I appointed a page, and now that has been 20 years ago, and they are returning today. And, Mr. President, I would like to welcome back the Senate pages from 1998. You'll notice that they look exactly like they did then. They include Ashton Shoemaker, Marlene Colucci, and also Aaron Derby and Elizabeth Harris. We'd hope that you would give them the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the senator. Would Ashton Shoemaker, Marlene Colucci, Aaron Derby, and Elizabeth Harris please rise in the gallery if you are able? Thank you all so much for joining us here today. We echo the eloquent words of the senator from Newman, Senator Newman, and appreciate your service as a page in the class of 1998, and really honored to have you come back and return to be with us. So you, of course, are welcome here anytime, and we would ask everyone please to join us in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to our great Senate pages from the class of 1998. The senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
Thank the senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, I am very pleased to announce that in the gallery with us today is the Reverend Amy Russell. She gave the beautiful invocation we started our day with, and she is with the Unitarian Universalist Community Church in beautiful Glen Allen. Please welcome her.
Thank the senator. Reverend Russell, would you please rise in the gallery if you're able? Thank you so much for being with us here today. Thank you for that really beautiful prayer that you offered and got us off to the right foot. I think you mentioned you had given the prayer about 4 years ago, so we are honored to have you return. Thank you for your service and your moral leadership here in Virginia. And I would ask everyone to please join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to Reverend Amy Russell. Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rise for introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, members of the body, in the gallery today are some very dear friends of mine who have been fierce advocates for an issue that we're going to take up on the regular calendar today about distilleries. And in the gallery, Mr. President, is Christine Riggleman with her daughter, Abby, Mike Troxel, and Ivan Berry here to see us debate this bill on the floor. And I can't thank them enough for their fierce advocacy for this issue as well for all those other distilleries in the state, and I'd ask that you give them the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the senator. Would our friends from Silverback Distillery in the gallery please rise if you're able? Thank you so much for joining us here today. Thank you for your advocacy and your engagement in the legislative process. We appreciate all your work in the private sector and in the distillery industry. It's a very important one here in Virginia. You, of course, are welcome back anytime. We would echo the eloquent words of the Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves, in bringing you greetings, and would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to our friends from the Silverback Distillery. The senior senator from Richmond City, Senator Sturdivant.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Good morning, Senator. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. I rise for an introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, joining us in the gallery today are two very important constituents of mine. Joining us are Easton and Andrea Weber from Powhatan County. The younger Miss Weber is a student at Powhatan Elementary, and she was here with her mom earlier this morning, doing very important work here to advocate on behalf of the Equal Rights Amendment here in the Senate. And they are being watched, we're being viewed by Ms. Weber's classmates at Powhatan Elementary School in Mrs. Smith's and Mrs. Olsh's classes, and I would ask that we offer them the warm welcome of the Senate, Mr. President.
I thank the senator. Would Easton and Andrea Weber please rise in the gallery if you're able? Thank you so much for joining us here today. We echo the generous and kind words of the senior senator from Richmond City, Senator Sturdivant. We are grateful that you're here today and grateful to all your friends and classmates at Powhatan Elementary School. We hope to get to see you on television. And thank you for joining us today. You're welcome back here anytime. And I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to Easton and Andrea Weber. Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougall.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise for the purposes of an introduction.
Thank the senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, today we have with us two very special guests, Mike and Jenny Crowther from the Northern Neck. They are here to watch their grandson, our page, Grant Biddlecombe, as he goes about the business of the Senate. And if you could offer them the warm welcome of this august body and thank them for raising such an incredible grandson.
I thank the senator. Would Mike and Jenny Crowther please rise in the gallery if you are able? Thank you so much for joining us here today. We are grateful to you for not only your visit, but for allowing your wonderful grandson, Grant, to be a part of our PAGE program. He is stellar, and you guys have done a great job. You have so much to be proud of as grandparents, and of course, you are welcome here anytime in the Senate. Would echo the eloquent words of the senator from Hanover, and look forward to seeing you around the Capitol quite a few more times. So I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to the grandparents of Grant Biddlecombe, Mike and Jenny Crowther. The senator from Portsmouth, Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for the purposes of an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Seated in the gallery today are the parents of one of our pages, Elizabeth and Charles Rainey. They're the parents of Scarlett Rainey, and also with them, accompanying them is her brother, Cameron Rainey. And Mr. President, I would appreciate it if you would extend to them the very warm greetings of the Senate.
I thank the senator. Would Elizabeth Charles and Cameron Rainey please rise in the gallery if you're able? Thank you so much for joining us here today. We are grateful for your presence and, of course, also very grateful that you've allowed Scarlett to be a part of our page program. She is stellar and has done great work, and we are privileged to have her here in the Senate. Cameron, I want to bring greetings to you. My son is named Cameron. It's a great name, and we're very proud that you're here as well. So thank you for your great work as parents and for your leadership here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I would ask everyone, please, to join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to the Rainey family.
Mr. President,
Senator,
and while I'm still on my feet, Mr. President, I'd like to ask for a leave of absence for my seatmate who's away from the Capitol on pressing personal business.
Without objection, the Journal will so note. Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be, Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel. No problem. Do any other senators wish to be recognized for purposes of an introduction? Is there any other business to come for the morning hour? Seeing none, the clerk will call the
President.
Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules be suspended and SR 22 be taken up for immediate consideration at the end.
We'll do it at the end. Absolutely.
Yes, thank you.
Thank the senator. We'll come back to that. Is there any other business to come in the morning hour? Seeing none, the clerk will call the calendar.
Uncontested calendar, Senate bills on third reading.
Okay, Senator. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Good morning,
I'd like
Senator.
To respectfully move that all the Senate bills on the third reading on the uncontested calendar, which would include all Senate bills on pages 1 through 11, including Senate Bill 72 through Senate Bill 989, be placed on their final passage in the block. Any senator that desires to remove a bill from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the number of that bill.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall the Senate bills on the uncontested calendar, third reading, pages 1 through 11, Senate Bill 72 through Senate Bill 989, be placed upon their final passage in the block, with the understanding that any senator desiring to remove a bill from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The bills are before us in the block. The clerk will read the number of the bills.
Senate Bill 72, Senate Bill 163, Senate Bill 198, Senate Bill 205, Senate Bill 389, Senate Bill 449, Senate Bill 564, Senate Bill 780, Senate Bill 853, Senate Bill 867, Senate Bill 893, Senate Bill 908, Senate Bill 922, Senate Bill 979, Senate Bill 980, Senate Bill 985, Senate Bill 989.
The question is,
Mr. President, could 989, Senate Bill 989 come out of the block, please?
Without objection, Senate Bill 989 will come out of the block. Question is, shall the bills in the block pass? That is all bills except for Senate Bill 989. All in favor of the passage of the bills will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The bills in the block pass.
Returning to page 11, Senate Bill 989.
Senior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill pass. And speaking to that measure,
I thank the senator. Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's been in the code since near as we can figure out 1974 that not-for-profit hospitals would be exempt from antitrust laws, state antitrust laws. I will tell you that there's been several federal court rulings that say that since the federal antitrust law was silent on what states, about states, and states pass some type of legislation about the antitrust laws, then the federal government will not get involved in those actions. Mr. President, we have some small not-for-profit hospitals, and we have some major size not-for-profit hospitals. I don't believe, and I don't believe anybody in this room believes they should be acting like a monopoly, and I'm not saying they are acting like a monopoly. I'm not saying they're not acting like a monopoly. Quite frankly, Mr. President, I don't have the skills to decide one way or the other. But there are organizations set up to do that. We all know why some 110, 120 years ago the Sherman Antitrust Act was passed to begin with. Monopolies would come in, bury competition, and then raise prices. Is that going on today in Virginia? I don't know. Should it be going on in Virginia? I believe it should not. So, Mr. President, all this simple little bill does is remove the language that exempts not-for-profit hospitals from the state antitrust laws, and I move we pass the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 989? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 989 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 0, Rule 36-1.
Ayes 38, noes 0, Rule 36-1. Senate Bill 989 passes.
Regular calendar. Senate bills on third reading. Senate Bill 261, a bill relating to the standards of quality, staffing requirements, librarians, and clerical personnel.
Senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can that bill go by temporarily?
Without objection, Senate Bill 261 will go by temporarily.
Senate Bill 777, a bill relating to post-conviction relief, previously admitted scientific evidence.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that Senate Bill 777 pass. And speaking to that motion, sir.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. Senate Bill 777 is a bill that establishes a manner and method by which we can overturn wrongful convictions based upon what is now known to be bad science. And that is to overturn the conviction, that is to vacate the conviction, and the Commonwealth can reinstitute and prosecute that person if that petition is granted. It's a one-petition opportunity. It's a petition that goes to the Court of Appeals. And quite frankly, it enables us to get around and overcome what are very much limitations in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We have Rule 1:1 in our Supreme Court rules, which has every order of a conviction is a final order after 21 days. And then there are other two avenues of relief. One is actual innocence, which is limited in time and scope. And the second one, of course, is a habeas corpus. Federal and state habeas corpuses have different times. What we find, we have seen bad science occur here in the Commonwealth of Virginia and in the United States. By way of example, one example, hair analysis. In 2015, the FBI announced that its experts had overstated probabilities of matches in 95% of the cases it had reviewed. In Virginia, the Department of Forensic Science began reviewing convictions, and 5 defendants were notified of errors in 2016. As an attorney, I can tell you that our legal system is not perfect, that innocent people are convicted. And what is our obligation is to make sure that we get it right, because when a government deprives someone of their liberty, it is the greatest thing and the most horrific thing, and it can be the most terrible power that a government possesses. And what we want to make sure is that when that occurs, that we have gotten that right. Texas has done this single petition for bad science, or what we call junk science, before. Only 13 petitions have come about. This has a sunset provision on it, so we can assess on how this is going. It has a one-petition rule, which allows not only one petition, but the Court of Appeals to summarily dismiss that petition. It is limited in its scope, but quite frankly, it is needed so that we make sure that we get these convictions correct and do not rely on science, which may sound good at the time, but is later proven to be unreliable, which resulted in those convictions. Mr. President, we've had 13 convictions of people wrongfully for what has become junk science. And when we found out who the right perpetrator was, in those instances, those perpetrators had gone on after the wrong person was convicted and committed 4 murders. So for those reasons alone, we need to make sure we get this right so that we have the right person serving the time. This is limited in what cases this would apply to, but it's another way where we have a tool in the toolbox to make sure that even in an imperfect system, Mr. President, we do everything we can to get it right. And I thank you, sir.
I thank the senator. For what purpose is the senior senator from Loudoun County, Senator Black, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Speaking against the measure.
The senator has the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a saying among defense counsel that time is our ally. The longer cases can be delayed, and the longer that goes on, the more evidence dissipates, the more the memories of witnesses become fogged by duration of time. Witnesses die. Witnesses move and cannot be contacted and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not uncommon that we have people who are declared absolutely innocent who have confessed in great detail to the crimes that they have committed, and yet we have questions raised about forensic evidence. I will tell you, there are few sciences that are more hard science than forensic science. I have been up to Northwestern University watching presentations by their coroner, and I'm going to tell you, they may be gory, but they are utterly fascinating to see how they are able to take fragments and so forth and arrive at very rational conclusions. Ladies and gentlemen, I am just really troubled when we go back, particularly when we have someone who has confessed. We had a very prominent case some years ago where we declared someone innocent. He actually came into the General Assembly and had standing applause and so forth. But the fact is that his background, not only had he confessed to the crime, but his background involved an unquestioned situation where he had burglarized and broken into the home of an elderly woman, smashed a wooden chair over her head, breaking the chair into bits, nearly killing her. And he stole a pistol from her and took it and then went and shot his brother with the pistol that he had stolen. And this is a man who received standing applause in the General Assembly. He had confessed. And I ran into an attorney from the Attorney General's office who told me, and I don't remember his name, so I can't repeat it to anyone, but he was very senior. And I said, what in the world are you doing with this case? And he said, we, within the department, we think he did it. But we think that he falsified portions of his confession. And there was DNA. There was actually DNA found in the rape victim's body, and it was not his. And that always raises the question, well, how many were involved in the rape? Was he the one who held her down and strangled her while the other one committed the act? These things happen. These things happen. And so I am very, very leery of taking a case that is very old, where the victims and the relatives of the victims have no voice. Because they can't be reached, because they're in the grave or whatever. And we ignore the fact that there is a confession, a signed confession by the accused, And then people bring up questions. They say, well, we're not so sure about this technique or that technique. Well, you put that technique together with a signed confession, and they bolster one another. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I am very uneasy when we start revisiting these cases. I don't ever want to see anyone who is innocent punished for a crime, but at the same time, when we have typically, these cases involve the most vicious crimes, and the most vicious crimes are typically crimes committed against women. And I have no interest in seeing folks like that released, and so I would urge you to vote against the measure.
I thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards, rise?
Mr. President, speaking in favor of the bill.
Senator has the floor.
I applaud the senator from Franklin for putting in this bill. We already have a writ of actual innocence based on DEA. All this does is extend it to other scientific evidence. We also know that science evolves. A good example of this is the science with regard to arson. They now have recognized there's a lot of junk science with regard to arson that people were convicted based on, and I've been involved in civil cases involving arson, and I can tell you it has been in a criminal case where I prosecuted with regard to arson, and there's no question that arson investigations and the science regarding arson has evolved, and that's just one example. So I would hope, Mr. President, it would be the pleasure of the body to support this. The public is enamored with these CSI TV shows. They keep going. There's so many of them. It's unbelievable. Every time I turn on the TV show, there's another CSI show on. And the public understands that science is very important in the prosecution of cases. And as the science evolves, we ought to allow somebody who's been wrongfully convicted based on maybe junk science to be able to show that the science has evolved that proves they're actually innocent. And the worst thing we can do is convict people and hold them in prison when they're actually innocent. They ought to be given an opportunity to show their innocence, just like we have done with regard to DNA. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain, rise?
Mr. President, I rise to speak briefly to the bill.
The senator has the floor.
Let me try this from a little bit of a different angle and just point out to you, nobody disagrees with the notion that we ought to be exhausting all avenues to make sure that people are not wrongfully convicted and that those who have been wrongfully convicted are freed as quickly as possible. And what I would point out is that this proposal, it does come from something that's been tried in Texas, and if everybody in here believes that we ought to try everything that they do in Texas, I got a couple of ideas, but I somehow doubt that that's the case. I would point out that this issue was sent to the Crime Commission and studied by the Crime Commission and yielded no recommendation from the Crime Commission at that time. It was studied in 2016. The Virginia Association of Commonwealth Attorneys indicated that they had significant concerns about this, not about the notion of exonerating people because of changed science, but because of the manner in which and the mechanism created in this bill. Some of the challenges include the difficulty for courts in determining whether scientific evidence has changed, whether there is going to be a battle of experts in each of these petitions filed. As was mentioned before, retrying old cases can be difficult, and I'm not sure that this navigates that effectively. And courts are going to have difficulty struggling with experts who change their opinions. I applaud the goal of this bill. I would respectfully submit that we don't need to advance this year. I think that it's a worthy notion, but it's just not ready. And I would hope that the body would not report or not vote for this bill.
I thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Surville, rise?
speaking to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't want to trespass too much on everybody's Friday either, but just a couple really quick things. First of all, one of the reasons that perhaps Texas has a statute like this is that other states already have this kind of stuff on the books. They just have a much broader remedy to open up a conviction way after the fact. Virginia's 21-day rule is extremely harsh. It's extremely limiting. And we've been hearing a lot of advocacy as to why we ought to look at that. And this, I think, is a very measured way to go to, and limited way to start to deal with that 21-day problem. In terms of the junk science, juries put a lot of weight on forensics, probably more weight than they should. And it's because all these crime shows on TV that people see all these experts and this CSI, this and that. And whenever you have somebody that gets up there and the judge says, okay, you're qualified as an expert, all of a sudden the jury gives them a lot of weight. And often we found that these experts, they're getting paid, and the theories that they use turn out to be complete junk. And the senator from Roanoke pointed out the arson issue. That's called burn pattern evidence. There was it used to be that fire forensics experts thought that you could tell whether somebody poured gas on the ground based on burn patterns. That's been completely discredited. I think there's been about 50 exonerations around the country based on that. Another one is bite mark evidence. That's another one which has been completely thrown out. There's been people convicted based solely upon the fact some experts said that guy's teeth matches a bite pattern on somebody, and that's been thrown out. And the last thing I'll say is in terms of confessions, often police use this forensic evidence to get people to confess. So you tell somebody, hey, I got this expert that says you did this and here's why, and they use some junk science to do it. Oftentimes people, in the distress of a confession, we've found that confessions have become they're a lot less accurate than you think they are. We're going to hear about that hopefully later this session with this Norfolk 4 bill that's coming, where four different people confessed to a rape, which they didn't do. But you put some evidence like that in front of everybody, they get scared and they confess, even though they didn't do it. So we need this bill. We need a remedy to get people out of jail. Their only remedy shouldn't be a writ of actual innocence or going to the governor for an absolute pardon. We need something like this, which makes it easier. So I'd hope the body would support the bill.
I thank the senator. Other than the patron, do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 777? Seeing none. Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. In closing on Senate Bill 777, I just want to say just a couple things.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, sir. This is a new post-conviction writ that vacates those convictions but subject them to new trials based on changed science only. So there you have to show that there's a new standard that discredits the scientific evidence that was used to convict, and that new science produces a different result. That is in the bill. When we talk about writs of actual innocence, remember you have to have the Attorney General's support to even be able to carry that writ of actual innocence, which is a limiting factor. Habeases are too short, 2-year statute of limitations, because this science can be found to be junk science years after. But the limitations there that I think the senator from Loudoun should know in the bill are that if someone pleads guilty, they're not eligible to make a single petition challenge under this evidence. There's no eligibility for guilty pleas, which would be close to the confession that he speaks of. It's only limited to certain major felonies, only one writ per prisoner, and the Court of Appeals can dismiss summarily without taking any evidence or without even an answer from the Attorney General or require any answer or even proceed. It is the power of the court to determine whether to move forward. The standard through the amendments are that this must be proven by clear and convincing evidence that no conviction would be obtained under new science, or the discredited science has been proved that no conviction would be obtained. It has a delayed effective date until 2019, and it has a sunset provision in 2023, Mr. President. And actually, we have to have annual reports and filings notifying the General Assembly exactly how this is proceeding, which will allow us to look at it. The purpose here is to get wrongly convicted persons out of prison, because that's our obligation under this legal system. I mean, DNA evidence has opened our eyes to the reality that demonstrably innocent people were rotting away in prison wrongly convicted. We are paying millions of dollars, as we just had someone say the Norfolk 4. Ladies and gentlemen, this is too important not to do. And quite frankly, it's not going to have a run on our court system. So for those reasons, I move that Senate Bill 777 pass.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall Senate Bill 777 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 24, noes 15.
Ayes 24, noes 15. Senate Bill 777 passes.
Senate Bill 28, a bill relating to medical research on dogs and cats, prohibition on use of state funds.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that Senate Bill 28 pass. And speaking to that, sir.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, we may have seen this year where at the VA McGuire Medical Center, horrible experiments were being done on dogs. Category E, painful experiments with no relief to the animal. Torturous experiments, not for the advance of science. What this bill simply does is state and throw a marker down, Mr. President, that says we're not going to allow taxpayer money to fund those type of experiments, for the reason that that independent researcher got $100,000 of taxpayer money to harm those animals with no result, no meaningful result. The amendment to the original bill is simple and direct because we worked with our colleges and universities to make sure that there wasn't any ancillary effects that we did not want to accomplish in this bill. This is to make sure that we are protecting the taxpayer pipeline from the taxpayer money directly to the person who is conducting these painful, horrendous, and unethical and immoral experiments. So no taxpayer money can be used to fund the experiment itself. It does not affect the bricks and mortars of one of our colleges or university or the Bunsen burners or anything that they have or a graduate assistant. It does not do that. This bill does not foreclose those type of painful, immoral, and unethical experiments from happening. It just says we're not going to use Virginians' money to fund them. So private institutes, private foundations can still, if they wish to conduct these experiments. I hope one day we all realize in the 21st century that it's unnecessary. But, Mr. President, I think it's important for Virginia to make a statement that we are not going to use taxpayer money to conduct painful, with no relief, Category E experiments. And I will yield to my friend, the senator from Richmond.
What purpose does Senior Senator from Richmond City, Senator Sturdivant, rise?
Mr. President, rise to speak in favor of the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I echo the comments of my colleague, the senator from Franklin. He's exactly right. Our hope is that one day we will be able to ensure that throughout the entire Commonwealth that this kind of maximum pain experiments on companion animals, dogs and cats, is not necessary. But this bill, I think, is an important step in that direction. To at least ensure that Virginians' taxpayer dollars are not being spent to fund those maximum pain experiments. And I renew the motion that the bill pass, Mr. President.
I thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 28? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 28 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 2.
Ayes 36, noes 2. Senate Bill 28 passes.
Senate Bill 31, a bill relating to the Interstate 73 Corridor Development Fund and Program.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
I know you're getting used to me, Mr. President.
I am indeed.
Mr. President, I move that Senate Bill 31 pass. And speaking to that,
the senator has the floor.
Just think, Mr. President, if we get these all out of the way, you won't have to hear from me until crossover. So this will be great. Don't all clap at once. Mr. President, members of the Senate, you've seen this bill before. It passed out of this body. It passed out of the House last year. It had a reenactment clause which required it to be reviewed twice by these two bodies, but it was signed by Governor McAuliffe. And this bill creates the Interstate 73 Corridor Development Fund. Basically, it utilizes the Route 58 Corridor Development Fund, and when it has been completed and four-laned and all the bonds have been paid back, then that will then transfer into the Interstate 73 Corridor Development Fund. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard me talk about it, but let me just say very briefly. Building I-73 will, while not cheap, will bring 53,000 jobs to my region. a region that is suffering some of the highest unemployment and the highest poverty rates, but used to be on the top of the economic food chain here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. You know, when we think about this, Mr. President, over the past 20 years, over $6 billion has been spent in Northern Virginia on road projects, new highways, new road projects, over $6 billion. Hampton Roads, over $4 billion over the past 20 years. Over the past 20 years, $900 million has been spent in the Salem district, this area that we're talking about right here. And where the money for infrastructure has gone, so have the jobs. And over those 20 years, Mr. President, we saw our economy change fundamentally in Southside Virginia. I have talked about this before. If you want a jobs program, then I-73 is your jobs program. I ask that we pass this bill for Southside Virginia, for the people of Martinsville and Henry County and Franklin County, for the people of Roanoke. And quite frankly, I think this is a shot psychologically in the arm for them, but it also will get them to be serious about self-funding their roads in the future. So for those reasons, Mr. President, I now renew my motion that Senate Bill 31 pass.
I thank the senator. For what purpose is Senator from Russell, Senator Chafin, rise?
Mr. President, parliamentary inquiry.
Senator has the floor.
Is this a Charlie Brown bill?
I'd have to look in the rules, Senator. You want to explain?
Maybe I should change it to a question for the patron.
Without objection, will the senator yield for a question?
Absolutely, for my friend from Russell.
Senator has the floor.
I would ask the senator, is this a Charlie Brown bill?
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I'm confused by, because Charlie Brown did so many things, and he's such an iconic figure, whether he, in trying to kick the football that Lucy held down for him and she pulled it away and he fell on the ground and he fell for it every time, that would not be a Charlie Brown bill. But in terms of the needs of our area, it absolutely is just like Snoopy taking on the Red Baron and defeating him in a Sopwith camel. It's the best I can do, Mr. President. I'm sorry.
A further Charlie Brown question from the senator, or?
No, sir, Mr. President. He's answered my question.
I thank the senator. For what purposes, senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner, rise?
Speaking to bill.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I have no idea what any of this has to do with Charlie Brown, Peanuts, Linus, Schroeder, any of that. But I will say this, that I think the bill has a good intent. You look at it, it's probably not going to kick in till 2040 because the proceeds of that are currently being used on 58, so it is anticipatory and looking. But I will point out when the senator from Franklin started saying about the amounts of money being spent in Northern Virginia and Hampton Roads, he forgot the fact that we're raising a whole lot of that money right here locally in each of our regions. And I would say to the senator that 2040 date is a long way away. Many of us, well, Senior Senator from Fairfax still be here, but, you know, a bunch of us may not be here. But I will say this, that those regions of the state that are looking to perhaps not wait that long may want to consider for themselves a regional effort to move forward. And I know the senator from Franklin has talked to some of those folks, but, you know, take it back to your local leaders and say if we really want it done in our lifetime or in some foreseeable future. Certainly the experiences that we've had show that the regional effort really serves to accelerate projects that are badly needed.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 31? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 31 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 24, noes 13.
Ayes 24, noes 13. Senate Bill 31 passes.
Senate Bill 177, a bill relating to Revolutionary War graves.
There we go.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Mr. President, I don't know why I even sat down for a minute on that one. Mr. President and members of the Senate, I now move that Senate Bill 177 pass, and speaking to that bill.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, we are approaching in 2025 the 250th anniversary of the Revolutionary War. What this bill simply does is immediately recognizes 4,000 documented graves without having to have special legislation to add to each cemetery and site, recognizing the patriotic service of men and women, African Americans free and enslaved, who are excluded from the current legislation recognizing those Revolutionary War graves. It's just $5 per grave, which is a minuscule amount to honor the men and women and people of color who made massive sacrifices to found this nation. This $5 goes to the maintenance of those graves, Mr. President, so that their honor can be maintained after death and what they did for us. It's time we recognize those Revolutionary War heroes, even those who may not have served in uniform under General George Washington. These are the regular folks, not just the ones who wore the uniform. Mr. President, I've looked everywhere, and the only opposition to this bill, Mr. President, has been the British. And other than that, no one opposes this bill. So for those reasons, I renew my motion that Senate Bill 177 pass.
I thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 177? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 177 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. Senate Bill 177 passes.
Senate Bill 181, a bill relating to suspension of driver's license for non-payment of fines or cost.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, I promise this is the last time today I will stand up. Very well. But I know you like it. Mr. President, members of the gallery, I move that Senate Bill 181 pass, and speaking to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Mr. President, what we have right now in the Commonwealth of Virginia is that we suspend people's driver's license. We do it for certain things. We suspend them for convictions for narcotics violations. We convict them for driving offenses. But we also convict them when we find after a certain period of time, after 30 days or so, that they haven't paid their fines, which is a non-driving behavior. And most of the time only occurs because the person is incapable at that time of paying a fine, which, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, if you do remember, we keep passing court fees. And if you're a lawyer or have a client and you go and you get a $25 fine, by the time they walk out of there, they got a $200 fine and court costs to pay. And for some people, that's a difference in a choice to be made of whether food's going on the table for their children or shoes on their feet or paying that fine. And I know every family member in that situation is going to put the food on the table first. And what I found in my research was startling, that over 600,000, we have 1 million Virginians who have had their license suspended, over 600,000 suspended just for non-payment of fines, non-driving behavior. And when I looked at the collection rates, Mr. President, I found that our collection rates are higher before, but the collection rate after someone's fine is suspended is 18%. And members of the Senate, you must also remember that when you have a fine and court cost, it is automatically turned into a judgment and can be collected as such against the person to whom the fines are owed. In my personal experience as a criminal defense attorney, I can tell you that I have clients of mine that cannot pay the fine but are working a job and have to get to that job, so they have to drive. So they drive secretly. Or if the local sheriff knows that they're suspended, I've had clients of mine who the sheriff has sat on the corner at the outside of their neighborhood waiting for them to come out and gotten them every time. And suddenly driving on suspended once turns into twice, turns into 3 times. And that $200, $300 fine turns into $2,000, $3,000 fine, and they'll never get their license back. So you know what happens? They quit their job or they're fired because they can't get there. Kids can't get to the doctors or school. Totally cripples them because of their financial situation. I find that fundamentally unfair. And not only unfair, but I don't think it's government's job to take away a privilege that they otherwise would enjoy just because that person can't pay the government. So it's about time that we have a full repeal of the suspension of driver's licenses for solely, Mr. President, non-payment of fines. And that's exactly what this bill does, that we finally get around something that I think is old, outdated, and rusty. And members of the Senate, there's a clause on this, but I will tell you this. The clause was only put on because the fiscal impact from the DMV said, oh, we won't get the reinstatement fees of $8 million. Well, I put in this bill through its amendment to where, look, the person can get their license back if it's been suspended for non-payment of fines if they pay the reinstatement fee, which I think is about $140. It's a lot easier to pay that than it is sometimes to overcome what may be a significant amount of fines. And we want to encourage them to pay and get them to pay. But let's not take away the very vehicle and opportunity that they have to get a job and pay the fines. It's just silly. So for those reasons, Mr. President, I renew my motion that Senate Bill 181 pass.
I thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from Arlington, Senator Favola, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to speak in favor of the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thank the senator from Franklin for finally getting this bill through. So many senators in this chamber have worked very hard over the past few years to actually get this bill to the floor. And I know Governor McAuliffe had this legislative language in his budget several times. I guess the Washington Post up in our area actually covered this rather thoroughly and determined that 1 out of 6 Virginia drivers actually loses his or her license because of this. And as you do more reading, you find out, you know what? People are forced to make very bad choices. And that's not how we should be legislating. Our laws should be enabling people to make good choices. Our laws should be enabling people to make the right decisions. And our laws should be enabling people to support their families and not have to drive while their license is suspended. We need to change this cycle here. I think this bill on many levels brings us to the right place. And I ask the ladies and gentlemen of the Senate to support this bill. Thank you.
I thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards, rise?
Mr. President, I rise in support of this bill.
Senator has the floor.
As the senator from Arlington pointed out, this is not the first time bills like this have been brought before this body. I think my bill last year, I forget what happened, it didn't pass. And this year, my bill, I think, has been rolled into the Senator from Franklin's bill. And, Mr. President, this is a huge burden on a huge number of people in Virginia, the poor in particular. If your license is suspended not because you're driving, but simply because you couldn't pay the fine or the costs and so forth, you have a choice. You can't go to work if you follow the law, or you somehow find a way to get to work some other way and maybe even sneak out and drive, and there you go. You get caught and your license is suspended again and you're charged again. Mr. President, please, let's take a look at the facts. The numbers are staggering. The number of citizens whose licenses are suspended simply for non-payment of fines. I think last year, the figure was 650,000. The senator from Franklin said 1 million. I don't know what the figure is, but it's hundreds of thousands of citizens who cannot drive a car solely because they couldn't pay the fine. So, Mr. President, I hope this bill passes.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from James City County, Senator Norment, rise?
Speak to the bill, please, sir.
The senator has the floor.
Mr. President, as I listened to the argument, a word that came to my mind was a little sanctimonious. You talk about bad behavior. The reason the people had the fine imposed in the first place was because they made bad choices. And as a result of bad choices, the courts have accountability. And as we argue about this being such a draconian situation, if I recall correctly, it wasn't that long ago that we decided to turn our judges into debt collectors to give individuals who are under financial stress the ability to make installment payments. And I suggest to you that sometimes I think we forget that having a driver's license is a license. It is not a right. It is, in fact, a privilege. And when you breach that privilege, you are held accountable on it. So if the senator from Franklin would rise for one modest question.
Will the senator rise for a question?
Mr. President, so long as it's not about my driving record, absolutely, I will yield.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, as frequently happens on the floor, I understood you to make reference to your law practice, and I just want to know is, in those cases that you've been involved with where the client has not been able on an installment basis to pay that fine, were these court-appointed cases, or were you privately retained on those cases?
The Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. That's an excellent question. Mr. President, on almost all of those cases, I was court-appointed as indigent counsel. Who, don't forget, Mr. President, I would remind the senator from James City County that I'm sure he does not do that kind of work like we do down where I'm from. His clients are all of a different sort. And ilk. That quite frankly, these people are then assessed my fee of $120 on top, and that's considered the fine and court cost as well. Fine and court cost, my goodness, if you look at all the fees we put on, it's hundreds of dollars by the time you get out. I've had where judges feel so bad for the person, they suspend the fine, and they still walk out of there with $100 and some odd in fines and court costs. I mean, what we've done is we're taxing them to death on the way up and then saying, oh, by the way, we're going to take away the one thing he could do to drive to pay the tax off. On almost every occasion, when then that court-appointed client comes back, I can tell you the frustration that those judges have across the Commonwealth that I practice in those general district courts, who sit there and say, okay, why are you suspended? And even the Commonwealth's attorneys will look at this and go, you're suspended just for fines. Can you get that paid? We'll continue cases for months to try to get them somewhere, some way, somehow, to pay off their fines and get their license back. So when they come back and then they got to go to the DMV and pay the $145 reinstatement fee, tax after fee after tax, government after government, big government. After they come back, we can give them a no operator's license, which is a non-moving violation. Oh, and guess what, Mr. President? They get another fee, they get another fine, they get another court cost. I mean, we're supposed to be making taxpayers, not burdens on the system. When you take away their license and you take away their opportunity to drive, which allows them to get to their job, then they go on public assistance. I thought my party, my brothers and sisters on my side of the aisle, were for that, to create good people, good taxpayers, not burdens on our system, and this addresses that. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico, rise?
Speak to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
I just want to make some clarifications about the driving privilege. Whenever you are 16 and ever how many months and you go into the courtroom to receive your license, the judge specifies that this is a privilege. And they look at the parent, the big government, the parent, and say, anytime that you choose to revoke this license, you have the authority. You have the authority to revoke. So on this side, that big government is the parents of those people. So I would hope that we wouldn't vote for this bill, because there's several different ways those privileges can be revoked. And being a parent, I revoked those privileges on several occasions. Thank you.
Thank the senator. Senator from Bass, Senator Deeds. For what purpose does Senator rise?
To speak briefly to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, about 25 years ago, in order to collect court costs, we made the license subject to suspension. Like my friend from Franklin County, I do court-appointed work, and I bet I represent 20 people or 25 people a year that have their license suspended simply because their fines are paid. Now, the court-appointed lawyer fees are paid anyway. They're assessed as part of the cost. But we are essentially suspending licenses for these people because they're poor. They have to drive, they have to get to work, they have to support their families, and there's just this method of collection has not worked. So I urge the body to support this bill.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator, the junior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Speaking to the bill very
Senator
briefly.
has the floor.
Mr. President, I just remind the members of the body that yes, driving is a privilege, but for some people who don't have access to public transportation that's reliable, and you can't use it to get to work. Driving is a necessity if you're going to work, and you will never pay your fines if you can't work. So it's just counterintuitive to say we're going to take away the one thing you need to get a job to pay these court fines. And I ask you just keep that in mind as you vote.
I thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 181? Does Senator Stanley wish to be heard again? Thank the senator. Hearing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 181 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 33, noes 6.
Ayes 33, noes 6. Senate Bill 181 passes.
Senate Bill 191, a bill relating to net energy metering.
Senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill pass, and speaking to the motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. What this bill does is it allows an individual or an office that chooses to generate solar energy to be able to build that solar energy capacity, if you will, up to 125% of the past 12 months of usage. There's also a provision in here that does allow for new construction, and they can build solar capacity comparable to another standing facility that would be about the same size as the new facility. If there is any excess energy, it may be sold back to the grid at a wholesale price. This bill was pretty carefully negotiated among the Sierra Club, Dominion Virginia Energy, and, of course, the cooperative groups throughout the state. I do think this is a step forward in terms of promoting solar energy, alternative energy, and I ask the body to support it. And I do want to say that the current law only provides that a solar facility be built on the capacity of exactly what the past 12 months usage was. This brings it up to the 125%. Many constituents asked for this because they could see expansions in their family use, and they wanted to just build the solar capacity once. So with that, again, I ask that, ladies and gentlemen, please pass this bill. Thank you.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 191? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 191 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 0.
Ayes 38, noes 0. Senate Bill 191 passes.
Senate Bill 310, a bill to direct the Department of Medical Assistance Services to make recommendations regarding flexibility to individuals enrolled in certain waivers.
The junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeStaff.
Mr. President, I move the bill pass, and speaking to that.
The senator has the floor.
Mr. President, Senate Bill 310 directs DMAS to make recommendations to the General Assembly for legislative, regulatory, or policy changes that provide flexibility to an individual's enrolled in a home or community-based waiver to choose his place in the Commonwealth, of residence in the Commonwealth, to choose his place of residence, Mr. President, and that to ensure an individual's informed choice of place of residence does not reduce, terminate, suspend, or deny services for which he is otherwise eligible. The Department shall report such recommendation to the House Committee on Appropriations and Health, Welfare and Institutions, and the Senate Committee on Finance and Education and Health by November 1st, 2018. Mr. President, I renew my motion to move this pass.
I thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 310? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 310 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. Senate Bill 310 passes.
Senate Bill 405, a bill relating to zoning for wireless communications infrastructure.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that Senate Bill 405 pass. And speaking to the motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, members of the Senate, last year we had a conversation about our wireless infrastructure and access to information in the Commonwealth. Mr. President, the members remember I articulated a story about my then 5-year-old, now 6-year-old little girl, Reagan, who is a tremendous fan of Netflix, and she loves to watch Netflix. And sometimes she wants to talk and tell me her opinions, but frequently she wants to watch Netflix when we're in the car. If I want to talk with my wife, Robin, it is very important that she have access to those Netflix while we're in the car for that to be able to occur. But, Mr. President, I talked about that because she is indicative of the increase in information and access that we have now. Mr. President, it was not that many years ago that many of us had no ability or a limited ability to be able to communicate when we are away from our homes. Today, we go forward with our smart devices, whether it be a phone or an iPad or a tablet, and we can access information, communicate with anybody in the world at any point in time, and it's not just audibly, but it's also visibly. You can see them and have interaction. Mr. President, the unfortunate thing is that most of us have access to that information over a wireless sort of system. And that system is being flooded with the increased demand. It has increased over 6-fold in 5 years. Mr. President, those of us in Virginia, if we do not do something to address that infrastructure and the need for more of it, we will continue to have challenges receiving that information, not just in the rural areas, which I frequently travel and live in, but also in the urban areas. Mr. President, we took a very strong step to dealing with that last year through small cell technology. This year, Senate Bill 405 takes the second step to deal with that expanded wireless network so that everybody, whether you live in an urban area or a rural area, whether you have a 6-year-old who loves information and technology or not, will have access to more information. Mr. President, with that, renew the motion that Senate Bill 405 pass.
I thank the senator. For what purpose does the junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator D. Steph, rise?
Mr. President, I request I would like to see if the patron would like to yield for a quick question.
Will the senator yield for a question?
Mr. President, I will yield.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, the question I have is this for broadband or wireless? When I read the bill, it specifically looks like it's wireless only, and the way it was explained about broadband in our rural areas, I think there may be some confusion.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I would answer the gentleman. In the rural areas, we traditionally now receive our information through our 3G or in some place worse signal. And so oftentimes the only access to information that my constituents or I have in the rural areas is through that level of data at a 3G rate. Going forward, we are hopeful that Virginia will be able to move into the 5G, which means that the information will be transmitted at an infinitely greater speed and volume to individuals. For that 5G system to work, the system has to be built out. As that system builds out, then the rural areas can increase from the 3G or sometimes even less now to a higher level of 4G.
Mr. President.
Senator, further question?
Thank you very much. That clarifies what I was looking for. It is for wireless only, not broadband. Thank you very much.
I thank the senator. For what purpose does Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson, rise?
Gentleman, yield for a question.
Will the patron yield?
I would yield.
Thank the senator. You have the floor.
I would ask the gentleman, the companies that he's talking about, these wireless companies, they are private companies, correct?
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I would say that the vast majority, if not all, of the companies that are providing wireless data distribution in the Commonwealth of Virginia now are private.
Right.
Senator, further question.
So, in other words, they can decide where to put their networks. They're under absolutely no legislative mandate to have it in the rural areas or mountain areas or anywhere else that it's not cost effective, correct?
Senator?
Mr. Chairman, I would answer the gentleman that certainly they can decide where to put their networks, but the issue is right now in Virginia, we do not have a statewide system for determining how to set up networks. Now we have over 130 different jurisdictions, and each jurisdiction has their own set of rules, own set of fees, own set of regulations of how to establish these systems. For us to build out the Commonwealth of Virginia and encourage a statewide establishment of a system, we need a statewide system of rules to govern how those are situated. This would create that statewide system. Now, you might disagree with the statewide system, but there's no question that right now we have no statewide system.
Further question, Mr.
Further
Chair.
question. Senator has the floor.
Well, you'll agree with me then you'll have towns and cities that actually own their own right-of-ways, correct?
Senator?
Mr. President, I would answer the gentleman that certainly there are political subdivisions of the Commonwealth that own real estate, thus they would have areas for which you would need an easement.
Further question, Mr.
Further question.
President.
Senator?
And you'll agree with me that when a private company comes to a local government that owns its own right-of-way, like any landowner, they can negotiate an agreement, correct?
Senator?
Mr. Chairman, I would say that certainly local governments have the ability to negotiate. This bill does not stop the ability to negotiate, but does set up a statewide structure for which to negotiate. And, Mr. President, I would say the other thing that the bill does is set up a system to make that negotiation equitable. I would remind the gentleman that localities are a creation of the Commonwealth. So they are part and parcel of something that we create. We establish rules and regulations for those localities to live by. They're not always happy with them. Sometimes they're ecstatic with them. This is the Commonwealth setting up that system for the entire state.
Thanks, Senator. Further question?
I'd just speak to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I hadn't seen this bill until I saw it this morning. And one of the things, we discussed this at length last year, but it's the idea that we're going to intervene in a private negotiation between local governments and private companies that come on and want to use their right-of-ways, and we're going to talk about when these permits are going to be issued and what is a quote-unquote reasonable fee, when for years, people that come on that are private companies have to negotiate with local governments to use their right-of-way. So, again, you know, we've had this issue many, many times before. This is not about rural service, okay? This is about going to localities that have a target-rich environment that are, you know, people want to put better cell service in because that's where the customers are, and basically want to override local zoning authority and not have to pay fees for co-locating facilities. So, anyways, I understand, but that's what it is.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose is the senior senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove, rise?
Speak to the bill, Mr.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this is an important bill. For those of you who live in a very urban area, say, hey, what's the big deal? But if you look at the city of Chesapeake, which is one of the largest cities in the Commonwealth of Virginia, about a third of the landmass there is not served by internet, either wired, FiOS, broadband, whatever. And they have a franchise for regular cable. But those folks who live in the more rural areas in Chesapeake and southern Virginia Beach that I represent, big parts of Suffolk, have very, very little opportunity or choice in getting high-speed internet to their homes. Now, that's important for a couple of reasons. As we know, information is power anymore. If you want to do any of your online bill paying, you want to be shopping at Amazon, which we hope comes to Virginia, if you want your kids to be able to do their schoolwork, they need to have this access. So this isn't just a rural thing. This is a suburban thing. This is an opportunity for those people who are not served in the Commonwealth now to have a real chance of having high-speed internet capability in the very near future. I hope that you will support this bill. Thank you.
I thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 405? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 405 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 22, noes 13, Rule 36-4.
Ayes 22, noes 13, Rule 36-4. Senate Bill 405 passes.
Senate Bill 486, a bill relating to alcoholic beverage control, distiller licensee, samples, hours of operation, special events.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Mr. President, can I ask that that bill go by temporarily?
Without objection, Senate Bill 486 will go by temporarily.
A bill relating to the maximum number of judges in each judicial district and circuit.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass. And speaking briefly to this bill, this
Senator has the floor.
bill is the result of our regular and periodic adjustment to the number of authorized circuit court and district court judges in Virginia that we bring forward regularly as a result of the National Center for State Courts workload assessment report. As the members of the Senate remember, or may not remember, we used to have regular discussions about whether our respective circuits or districts were understaffed and overstaffed, and we went through discussions about redistricting in order to reallocate workload. And the resolution that we finally came to in order to try and reduce the amount of provincialism is we asked the National Center for State Courts to actually undertake a quantitative, objective analysis of the workload of courts across the Commonwealth. It's not perfect, but it's the best system we've got. I know that there are various members, me included, who don't agree with all aspects of this, but it's worked very well. And, Mr. President, with that, I would urge the body to vote for this bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 525? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 525 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. Senate Bill 525 passes.
Senate Bill 803, a bill relating to alcoholic beverage control, sales conducted at government stores established by Alcoholic Beverage Control Board on distillers' licensed premises, disposition of markup profits.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. I speaking to the bill and ask that the bill pass.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I darn say every senator in here has heard some portion of this bill, or either on finance or in the committee itself. But let me, for the other members who don't know what this is a freedom bill, plain and simple. I brought two bills to this chamber, the body, about trying to fix the disparity that the folks that make spirits in the Commonwealth in that relation to other alcohol. And most Virginians, by and large, Mr. President, don't understand the difference or even understand how ABC works or how we view that. I wasn't part of that discussion years ago. I don't even know if there's some of the senators that are here, except maybe for the senior senator from Fairfax. But imagine, Mr. President, if you will, that before you get your paycheck at the end of the month, 54% of it's gone. All 54 right off the top. And I did a little show in finance so people could truly understand what our distillers are facing today with that disparity. And I've heard a lot of arguments after the bill had come through finance, and this was the policy decision that was voted on the way to move forward. I had another bill, 486, Mr. President. I said I would strike the bill if it was the consensus of the chamber and the body to move forward with this policy. So this is the policy in which we're going forward to try to bring some justice to this disparity. And, Mr. President, I would only tell you that while not perfect, this is a good bite at going forward. The challenge for me now, Mr. President, is to try to backfill these monies, because we all know that our ABC stores are the golden goose that are laying the golden eggs, which is what Mr. Bondurant said as one of the distillers as well. But here's the challenge with this bill, and I'll get to the guts of the bill, Mr. President, is if we continue to take from those who are creating the golden eggs, what incentive do they have to stay here? And so while I know that their monies that come from the distillers is important to fund all the other things that distilleries and spirits do for the Commonwealth, but if they're not here, there's no more eggs. And so I want to leave people with that understanding that what we decide to do here today will have a detrimental effect as to where these folks go in the future. Mr. President, what this bill does, quite simply, is take the markup that's imposed by the board, ABC, and allow the distillers to retain that. And it's about 69%. That would go a long way. But let me tell you a little bit more about the impact on Virginia of what distillers do. They buy the majority of their grains from farmers here in Virginia because they're proud of that fact that, they're a Virginia distiller. They've had approximately 296,741 visitors that come through. And believe this number, Mr. President, almost $46,885,039 worth of expenditures in the Commonwealth. Mr. President, this is truly about trying to help some folks who have been disproportionately taxed or burdened, and to allow them to grow in an industry that, like our wine, our beer, and all the other things that we've made exceptions for, that are thriving in Virginia, Mr. President, that opportunity to do that, and that's what this bill is, Mr. President. I ask that it pass.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is Senator from Prince William, Senator McPike, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Rise to speak to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
And to speak against it, and I commend the patrons' efforts. And there was a fairly limited discussion during the Committee of Rehab and Social Services on the wider array of policy issues at hand in this bill. After referring to finance, it became clear that there were much more deeper issues. I've got a great distiller in my district that I want to help out and support, and we want to take a look at, frankly, at ways we can increase the commissions for the sales that they make in their own stores, and I think there are other venues, but unfortunately that was taken from one of the other bills, and the commission increase was taken off the table. Now we're left with a $4.6 million budget hole created by this bill. A couple of things in relation to this that underlie, which are important that the body understand, that the in-store product that's on the table is already marked up. And so there's already markup that's on the table for distillers. The second point to understand is that when the commissions were reduced in 2015 to 8%, and I don't agree with that. I think we should increase it for those that do sell in the stores. The store license at the time were approximately 10 to 12 stores. So the business model at that time incorporated the 8% commission. Since that time, we now have 38 stores. So we're at 300% growth with that business model in place and all the ABC rules and regulations in place. So folks have been investing and moving forward under the current business model and continuing to expand. And in fact, my local store has expanded it and done a great job. We need to be careful, because one of the things that concerns me in this, that under this bill, this is significant now, and I want to make sure that the body understands that under this bill, there's nothing that prevents any one of the international brands from coming in, like Bacardi or you name it, that lots of us already know from setting up a small shop. And frankly, they got way more advertising than our local distillers in Virginia. And I'm afraid that this would do great harm to our Virginia distillers, because it's a new whole set of rules. This is privatizing liquor sales, essentially. And I think there's just a different framework that this body needs to deliberate and look at different means that don't take and create a whole new system. And that's what this bill does. We really need to slow this down and take a look at commissions and other things that can help remunerate our distillers appropriately, and I'm in favor of that, but that's not what this bill does, and I urge the body to vote against the measure. And I appreciate, again, where the patrons' efforts are going to this, but I do think this is the wrong policy direction, Mr. President.
I thank the senator. For what purpose is Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Pete, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to speak to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the body. And in listening to the senator from Prince William talk, one thing struck me. He said that if we reduce the tax, as is requested in this bill, we will be left with a $4 million hole in the budget, as if this money is our money and we're giving it back to the distillers. And that is what is entirely wrong with the system that we have set up as it relates to distillers. We're treating it like it is our money. We're taking 70% off the top of what distillers earn through their hard work, their expertise, their experience, and their investment of capital. It's their money. We're trying to let them keep a little bit more of their money so they can be competitive, so they will remain in our state. The way things are right now, the incentive is for them to leave our state, to take their experience, their capital, and go to another state that has a competitive tax rate to set up their business, to make their profits, to pay their employees. This is a good bill. I move that it pass.
I thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Surville, rise?
Speaking to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I agree with the senator from Lynchburg that this is a problem that we need to look at, we need to fix, but this is just the wrong solution. About 20 years ago, I think I was the only person that drank craft beer. Me and a bunch of other liberals in Arlington, probably. But I just looked online to figure it out. Today, craft beer, and we talked about how we need to encourage craft beer, and craft beer is great, and you make it locally, and you go over to Scott's Addition down here in Richmond. I think there's like 5 or 6 craft breweries there that are operating. Richmond's become this massive beer town, all this beer made around here. According to this article I see from the National Brewers Association, craft beer now makes up 23%, 24% of all beer sales. This $4 million budget hole next year is going to be a $5 million hole, and the year after that it's going to be an $8 million hole, and 10 years from now it's going to be a $30 or $50 million hole. You go out in the bars today, and all the yuppies aren't drinking beer; they're all drinking liquor, and this liquor is becoming more popular. It's growing like crazy, and this is not the right way to do this. We do need to do something, but this just isn't the right way to do it. It's going to cost us a lot of money, so I hope you vote against it.
I thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 803? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 803 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 23, noes 16.
Ayes 23, no 16. Senate Bill 803 passes.
Senate Bill 809, a bill relating to eminent domain calculation of lost profits.
Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill pass and speak to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this is a small business protection bill. It basically updates the code on 25.1-100, which defines lost profits, which can be either a farm or a small business operation, in 3 ways. First of all, it takes the discrepancy between a full take and a partial take, in which a full take only gets 1 year of lost profit, while a partial take can qualify for up to 3 years of lost profits, and it equalizes those both at 3 years. It defines the start date when you can claim the lost profits, which is later of either the certificate of take being filed or the construction actually beginning. And third, it gives standing to a small business owner or a farmer who, again, would not be the property owner but would have a business or a farm at that location, that they could go into court and claim this remedy and not as part of the landowner's petition. So that's all it does, and I hope you'll pass the bill.
I thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 809? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 809 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. Senate Bill 809 passes.
Senate Bill 827, a bill relating to courthouse and courtroom security assessment.
Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill pass. And speaking to the bill,
The senator has the floor.
this bill is the top priority of our sheriffs this year. As you all know, they have the responsibility of providing courtroom and courthouse security. However, they're not adequately funded to do that. So a number of years we took the position that localities could impose, they didn't have to, but they could impose up to a $10 fee in order to provide that security. That was in 2007 was when we set it up to $10. We're now seeing that we need to give localities the ability to go up to an additional $10 for a maximum of $20.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain, rise?
Mr. President, speak to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, I love our deputy sheriffs and our sheriffs across the Commonwealth of Virginia, but I just want to point out the inherent conflict here. You know, we just dealt with a bunch of bills that were targeted to reducing the burden that we're placing on people who are convicted of petty offenses or other offenses across Virginia. We just acknowledge the fact that people are crushed under a burden imposed by every $5 or $10 fine or fee that's tagged on to every time they go to court. And this is another $10 that is going to be added to the fees of people who go to court across the Commonwealth of Virginia. So if you voted in favor of the bill that took away the ability to take away your driver's license because we just shouldn't be piling on these people, this is exactly the kind of piling on that we shouldn't be engaged in. This adds to the burden. This adds to the cycle. This adds to the inability of people to get out from under these fines and fees. And if you think that just because we took away the ability of the state to take away their driver's license, we fixed it, you're wrong, because one of the things that we did was we have looked at other means of collecting debts, and if these fines and these fees aren't paid, we're still going to be taking away from these folks' tax return or tax refunds. We're still going to be sicking the Commonwealth's debt collectors on them. So I just would ask you to take a close look at this and the inconsistency between this and some of the other measures that we've adopted, and just stop socking it to these people. And I would ask you to vote no.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 827? Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to point out that what we did with the senator from Franklin's bill was alleviate some of the concerns, and we can continue to do that about fines, but we have to have secure and safe courthouses and courtrooms, and that's the purpose of this bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the senator. Question is, shall Senate Bill 827 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 30, noes 9.
Ayes 30, noes 9. Senate Bill 827 passes.
Senate Bill 860, a bill relating to health care provider panels, vertically integrated carriers, reimbursements to public hospitals.
Senator from Portsmouth, Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that the bill pass, but I understand that the senator from Henrico has a concern about the bill and would like to.
For what purpose, Senator from Henrico, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would kindly ask, after speaking with the patron, if this could go by for the day just for a little bit of wordsmithing.
Without objection, Senate Bill 860 will go by for the day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Senate Bill 884, a bill relating to alcoholic beverage control.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'm going to ask that this bill go by for the day. After a policy direction the body has taken, we need to analyze whether this is still necessary or not.
Without objection. Thank the Senator. Senate Bill 884 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 896, a bill relating to the motor vehicle fuel sales tax in certain regions of the Commonwealth price floor.
The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. President. And by quick way of background, when we passed House Bill 2313, we did put a price floor on a statewide price of gasoline at that particular point in time, which I believe was around $3.14 and change a gallon. As the regional components of that bill came through, it was truly a neglect on the part of the conferees to just say two words: let's put the floors in for the regional components of the tax. So this bill seeks to correct that, Mr. President, and go back to that 316, 314 value just for Hampton Roads and just for Northern Virginia. I'll tell you the impact of that here in Hampton Roads is that as we look to 3 to 4 lanes on the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel, we're going to go one bite at the apple. We won't have another one for another 100 years on the new Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel. When we go to 4 lanes, that will use up every possible nickel, and even that's in question right now, and stop all further planning for other projects in Hampton Roads. With this floor put into place, several things happen. First of all, when we go to get that last round of bond funding, we won't have a fluctuating source of revenue. That's been a key component of what may cause later on issuance of bonds from HR TAC to be downgraded, but it also allows us to continue to plan further development in our region to continue to build out what's essentially becoming a beltway between 664, Monitor Merrimack, and Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel. The same concurs with Northern Virginia. There'll be another bill that has as a component of that bill the language of the floor, but this is a standalone floor, and I hope you support the bill.
I thank the Senator. For what purpose does the Senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline, rise?
Will the patron yield for one brief question?
Will the Senator yield?
Be delighted.
Thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
Sure, I understand that this bill is seeking to correct that the fuel prices were higher several years ago, and it was anticipated they were going to continue going up, but they went down significantly, and this is seeking to address that because the prices were higher and they went down.
Absolutely. I couldn't
Senator
agree
Wagner,
more.
you have the floor.
And that's what's kind of driven a hole in everybody's budget.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 896? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 896 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 26, noes 12.
Ayes 26, noes 12. Senate Bill 896 passes.
Senate Bill 921, a bill relating to the Uniform Statewide Building Code security of certain records.
Senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill pass, and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
SB 921 clarifies that in addition to fire and building officials, that other employees of a locality, or makes it clear that there are available building plans are available to other employees of a locality, people like police, zoning, planning, real estate assessor, that sort of thing. It still shields confidential building plans from FOIA, and it has the approval of the home builders. And with that, I move the bill pass.
I thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 921? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 921 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 0.
Ayes 38, noes 0. Senate Bill 921 passes.
Senate Bill 966, a bill relating to electric utility regulation, etc.
The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know we debated this bill at length yesterday, so I won't go into my long-winded speech, but I'll just try to hit the high points of the bill, Mr. President.
Senator has the floor.
What this bill does, and without this bill, we will basically go back to the way we're operating right now, which is a 5-year freeze on the SEC reviewing rates, and I don't think anybody in this chamber wants that to continue on. So this is the vehicle we have before us today. What this bill will do essentially is, starting 1 July of this year, it'll actually return our rates down to about the same we were paying in the year 2009, provide for an immediate $133 million credit back. It'll show up on those in the Dominion Service Territories bills. There will be a similar but much smaller adjustment on fuel rates for those in the APCO service territory. What it also does is provide a stream of money, which I talked about, estimated to be about $200 million a year, the bulk of which will come out of the base rate. Any excess will be the subject of a rate adjustment clause. I want to tell you, as these projects are reviewed, and I won't go into the grid transformation or the need to put up solar and do that, but I will tell you that the State Corporation Commission still does have to sign off on these projects. So there's still a look-see by the SCC. But that's what the bill does, Mr. President. We can look forward over the next 10 years to looking forward to having rates, the base rates, locked for the next 10 years, can't go any higher, okay? We can also look forward to a grid that is far more resilient in 10 years from now than it is today, a grid far more able to handle cyber threats on our grid than it is today, a grid 10 years from now that is much more resilient against weather events and other storm damage than we have today, a grid 10 years from now that's much more capable of accommodating and bringing on solar and allowing the distribution, as we try to strive, as written into this goal, that it is in the best interest of the state to put in 5,000 new megawatts of solar power. To give an idea, that's 500 megawatts a year of solar power over the next 10 years. This bill will also provide you a grid over the next 10 years to be able to identify problems, sometimes before they become problems, but if they do become problems, allow our utility to isolate those problems and be able to deploy the assets they need to recover from those events. Right now, Mr. President, I will tell you, we're not Puerto Rico. We're not the situation we have in Puerto Rico, but I will tell you one more thing. We're not Florida. Florida, if you remember, did get devastated from Key West to Tallahassee, literally leveled their entire circuit, yet in a week they were all back online. They were online because they've made those investments in their grid. It was still an expensive proposition because that was a statewide leveling. But we know in our area of the Commonwealth, we know which areas are frequented by power outages. We know that we can focus our efforts on hardening grid in those areas and then work through the entire grid. It'll also provide a couple other unique things. For the first time, it'll allow us to go offshore. Whether offshore wind is economical or not, whether it's going to be a source of where we can get electricity or not, quite frankly, the jury's out. And there's only one way for the jury to come in and say it either works or it doesn't work, and that's to go out with put 2 windmills out there, tie it back into our grid and see what happens. Measure it, see what the impacts are, and see if it makes sense for us to move ahead in doing that. Mr. President, I will tell you, if we find out that it's economically feasible to do that, we can look forward to a whole other industry that we haven't anticipated in the Commonwealth of Virginia, built around the wind industry. And I'm talking about deploying not just off the coast of Virginia here, but indeed because of our central location and the fact that we have a harbor with no overhead height restrictions, which will allow us to bring the largest ships in and have the highest stacking, if you will, on top of the ships of these wind assemblies, and the fact that we're centrally located for deployment of wind to the north of us and deployment of the wind to the south puts us in an ideal location to perhaps jump all over. And the fact that we have so much spare space in our existing port today really puts us in an ideal location to capture an entire new industry, if it works, Mr. President. So that's what the bill does. It's a comprehensive look towards the future. I think in the end of 10 years, we can sit back and look, and I think just by the fact that we push forward with this, the many things that you've heard from the Amazons, the Facebooks, the Googles, the people that look, and they want not just a stable economy, and they want not just low rates, but they also want an environment that looks to the future also, as those companies look to the future. And quite frankly, they'll base those decisions on there. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you if we pass this bill, Amazon will come. or if we don't pass this bill, Amazon won't come. That probably is a small part of their overall decision-making pie. But I think we can send a signal from this General Assembly that Virginia's moving forward, that we're making these kind of decisions to embrace that. But more importantly, rather than sending signals, Mr. President, I'm much more concerned about the long-term rates. Think of the prospects. And within this bill is written in battery storage. For the first time that I'm aware of, I know that those in the APCO service territory, APCO's made that decision not necessarily in Virginia, but out in Ohio for battery storage and those types of things. But this will allow Dominion to start looking at battery storage, because if truly renewables are going to become a 24/7, around-the-clock, 365 source of electricity, storage has got to be a key component. So, Mr. President, all of those things are tied into this bill. All of those things work their way through the bill. And I know it's Friday, so I think I will sit down.
I thank the senator. For what purpose, the senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson, rise.
Thank you, Mr. President. Shockingly, I rise to speak against the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I'm going to try and keep this brief. And I'll just begin by saying, and this is probably more family history you need to know, but the State Constitutional Convention in 1903 did a lot of things that were not great and should not be proud of. But they got one thing right, ironically. They set up what was called the State Corporation Commission. And the reason was they were concerned about monopolies forming in railroads. And they were concerning that these people would use monopolies to drive up prices and there would be no control of it. And what was most important to them was that there would be a body that would not be susceptible to public influence or political influence that would set these rates. That's what the Constitution of 1903 decided. And that's been a principle we've had in our law ever since. And yet what we're doing here today is basically stripping away the long-term ability of the State Corporation Commission, a nonpartisan, non-political body, to set these rates. Along the way, we're declaring that 5,000 megawatts of solar are in the public interest. That's great. I like solar, okay? But at the end of the day, there's no mandate to do that. What you have is a situation where they're being told it's in the public interest, but who's going to make that decision? Let me talk a little bit about some of the statistics. I'm sorry my speech is not of interest to all members, but let me talk a little bit about some of the statistics that were quoted yesterday. We heard that Virginia has the cheapest rates in the Mid-Atlantic. There was a study done by Virginia Poverty Law Center of the electric rates in Virginia vis-a-vis the rest of the state, vis-a-vis the rest of the nation. And it said that Virginians pay the 10th highest bills in the nation. The average residential bill in the United States is $114.03 a month. Virginians pay $130.58 a month. The average business bill in the United States is $670. Virginians pay $772. So the bottom line is we're not paying the cheapest rates. Our rates are slightly above average. Now, there's all sorts of variables for that. But one of the facts is we were the only state in the Southeast that did not see a rate decrease over the past few years. And one of the reasons was the laws we enacted right on the floor of this body. Let me tell you the second part. And I enjoyed Senator Wagner's presentation yesterday about the need for operating capital to generate grid transformation projects, because that's important, and I appreciate the economics. But, you know, there was a president when I was a young lad who said, trust but verify. And that made an impression on me. My parents were Democrats, and they hated me for it, but I liked Ronald Reagan. I was too young to vote, but I would have voted for him in 1984 because I agreed with him. I think there are times you need to trust and verify. How are we going to verify these numbers if we don't have a state corporation commission that can look behind the books? How are we going to verify? Number three, you know, we have co-ops in this state, some of which predate all of this stuff we're talking about, that find a way to bring energy and electricity to the members of the co-ops seamlessly. And they don't feel the need to drop the book of Deuteronomy into the state code, okay? Read the bill you're voting on. Some of the brightest minds in Virginia wrote that legislation, okay? It wasn't the governor. I got news for you. And I'm proud of them for doing that. Those are some smart people. I wish I had their client list, okay? But let's be honest. This bill is written to be benefited an industry giant. And that's great. Many people work for it, and they get good jobs, and I'm proud of them for doing it. But the reason why we have a state corporation commission is we have somebody separate that can keep an eye on these prices and is not susceptible to public influence. Political influence. So again, I'm not averse to what happened yesterday or will probably be happening in a few moments, but I hope a few of you all will vote against this. I think that rate freeze bill passed 36-4. I think we're going to do a little bit better this time. And next time we'll do even better than that. And eventually, I think the wheels of time are going to change in this body because I can feel it. So again, I renew my motion to defeat the bill.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw, rise?
Just a couple of comments.
Senator has the floor.
The rates that, at least in the territory I'm in as Dominions, is $106 a month, their average bill. He mentioned that a lot of average bills are a lot lower than ours in this state. Let's just take two geographies. One is San Francisco, California, and the other is Fairfax County, Virginia. Now, I don't know exactly. I think they're maybe slightly higher than ours, Pacific Gas and Electric, but the city of San Francisco has a lot smaller electric bills per residential unit. Can anybody here figure out why? That city is filled up with 700 or 500 to 1,700 square foot condos, filled up mile after mile after mile. There are very few single-family standalone houses filled up with condos. Now let's look at Fairfax County. The bulk of those homes in Fairfax were all built probably after 1965. And the bulk of them are over 3,000 or somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 square feet, which is more than double the size. Plus, San Francisco, virtually none of the homes have air conditioning because the daytime highs, even in the summer, are about 70 degrees. And then I suspect the farther south you go, probably into warmer and warmer climates, these bills, I suspect, try to rise or do rise. So, and the other thing, as I may have said before, the SEC, if you read in here, contrary to what you just heard, they have to approve the rates. They just can't raise the rates. And these projects have to be approved by the SEC. Read the bill. They have to approve the rates. So, we can just do nothing, which is the only alternative before us now if we don't pass this. And as the senior senator from Virginia Beach pointed out, this rate freeze stays in effect another 3 years. And then there's no review till around 2024 or 5. This bill returns money from 15 and 16, $133 million, puts a down payment of another $67 million that'll kick in next year, bringing it to $200 million off the bat, $125 million every year from the tax cut that they passed in Washington back to the ratepayers. And they can't get a rate increase for 10 more years. What's not to like about this bill? We haven't cut the SEC out of the picture. So, take a look at this and then look at the future. Look at the future. Do you want one that has the 500 megawatts left from the bill we passed 3 years ago? Or do you want 5,000 megawatts? And I suspect they'll beat that timetable, but by no later than by 2028. And ultimately, drastically lower electric rates as a result, as these renewables expand. So I would hope that you all would support this bill. This is the future of Virginia. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I regretfully rise to speak against the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Let's be honest. I wasn't here back in 2015 when the original bill passed, but I think we have a public trust issue that I think I need to talk about. We screwed up back in 2015, and the General Assembly was the one that screwed up. If we're completely honest, the people shouldn't trust us on this issue. We get campaign contributions from Dominion, many of us do in this room if we're honest. So why are we making these choices? We should give the responsibility to the State Corporation Commission, which is what I think we should do. I'm not an engineer, and I really do appreciate the patron of the bill because I think his heart's in the right place. But I had a friend that's in the Attorney General's office to do a line-by-line comparison of what the bill, Senate Bill 966, does. And I still have concerns. Now, I'm going to read some of this to you. I'm not an attorney, but I can read. Senate Bill 966, if you look at lines 941 through 956, says that Senate Bill 966 now makes refunds conditional on the failure of the utility to make certain offsetting investments in grid projects and renewable energy. Let's look at lines 985 to 993. It says before the commission is permitted to refund customers' excess earnings, the commission is now required to determine the amount of capital investments made by utilities in certain projects. But let's look at 995 through 103. It says the full cost of the new investments is used to cancel or offset customer refunds from the earnings. I think the folks in my districts would want to see those refunds, or at least show us the numbers. Where are the numbers showing how much each of our constituents is going to get? Is it $6? Is it $20? And if so, what is the cost of the grid revitalization? I would be in support of that, but this is a Christmas tree bill, in my opinion, that has a lot of different projects that we're putting in here. I think it's better off to have the simple bill like the one Senator Peterson and myself did, which was killed, by the way. So now we are stuck with this option of having a 5-year rate freeze of continuing under the same things, but we did that to ourselves. You killed the bill. So, Mr. President, I'm sorry to speak against the bill, but I'm going to have to vote against it.
I thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline, rise?
To speak on the bill.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's a lot of outstanding goals in the bill. I don't think there's any of us that disagree about investing in the grid infrastructure, and I don't think there's any of us that disagree about trying to turn more towards renewables. A lot of us support an all-of-the-above approach. Earlier this week, I brought a bill that would try to allow other companies to actually compete and address 3 monopolistic protections that the incumbent utilities enjoy. And had that been successful, we had companies lined up that wanted to come and compete here in Virginia. And there were people that spoke on behalf of my bill from very large companies, Google, Microsoft, and others, that said they wanted that competition because they wanted to be able to purchase this energy once it was made available, once the monopolistic protections were taken away. But that bill, like so many others that are opposed by the utilities, went down very quickly. But it'll be back again, and we'll have another chance to discuss that in the future. But this approach is not the right approach on seeking those goals. The State Corporation Commission, which we've talked about a lot about today, which I'm grateful for, they have the responsibility for more than 100 years, the constitutional mandate, to make these reviews. When you look at, there's a lot of talk about reading the bill, which is wise, but it's incredibly complicated, and what I encouraged everyone also to do was read what we got from the State Corporation Commission when Senator Peterson and I asked for it back. And in here, the State Corporation Commission made it very clear on several of the issues that we addressed yesterday, so I won't go through that again, on the limits of the refunds in certain places. But it also made it very clear that no longer would the utilities have to demonstrate that the projects were in the public interest. So we're taking that completely out of there, and we are incentivizing utilities to spend up on each of those projects so that they do not have to put a refund back in the pocket of the ratepayer. And instead, they will be able to double dip, as we've said multiple times. Elsewhere, there seems to be folks that don't think this is a double dip bill. I haven't heard anyone here say that yet, so I hope that we all at least recognize that together, and we recognize that that's the unfortunate policy it looks like we're about to go down. And if someone wants to address that, I'll happy to take a question on that. Okay, so I guess we all agree that it's double dipping. Well, I'll be happy to debate that, and I'm sure that there's another senator on the other side who'd be happy to debate that even more effectively than I. Well, we need to discuss this because this is more than any other bill going to impact the bottom line of all of our constituents without a good reason that we can defend going forward that we actually did this. You haven't seen a lot of folks stand up and talk about why we should be doing it this way and taking the authority away from the State Corporation Commission. You know, there's a lot of talks about tax increases. This is a tax increase. You are taking money out of your constituents' pocket, and instead of putting it into a public body that will later appropriate that money, you are giving it to a utility, a publicly traded company that will determine that. We had a lot of discussion about another bill that did that earlier this year. Unfortunately, that one passed. I'm afraid this one's going to too. One last thing I just want to point out is there was a lot of discussion yesterday. The phrase kept being used, a few nickels. It was only a few nickels more in your pocket. Super Bowl ads don't just cost a few nickels. And the ads that have been running since the Super Bowl didn't just cost a few nickels. And the very smart people that have fiduciary responsibility to their shareholder, that they do a very good job of upholding that responsibility to their shareholders, they're not spending those few nickels on these television ads because they're not going to get a great return on this bill if this goes forward. And it's going to come out of the pockets of every one of our constituents. So I hope that we'll defeat the bill, and I'm at least optimistic that we're going to do a little bit better than we did a few years ago.
I thank the senator. For what purpose does senior senator from Loudoun County, Senator Black, rise?
I rise speaking against the measure.
The senator has the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will not take too long because it's been a long day. But one point that I would like to address, I know throughout this there's been a discussion about the $121 million and how that's coming back to the ratepayers. But as I recall our briefing, it was started off with the discussion of the fact that the $121 million comes about because of the new tax bill that was just enacted by Congress. So that is not something that is generated as a result of this bill, but simply is something that has occurred because of congressional action. The other thing is I don't often quote the Southern Poverty Law Center. However, when they went up to the podium, they stated that they could not support the bill, and the reason was because the ratepayers were double paying for some of the costs. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley, rise?
Speak briefly, Mr. President.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I've just heard today, and I don't know that I'm going to talk about for or against the bill, but I've just heard today, even from my side of the aisle, from somebody who wasn't here when we did what we did in freezing the rates, saying that we screwed up, tricked people, we deceived the public. Nothing can be further from the truth. I, along with everyone else who was here at the time, calmly considered, debated, argued, looked to the experts, talked to so many people about what we were going to do. Precipitated by those who weren't here before, if you would remember, our president at the time who said, if somebody wants to build a coal-fired power plant under my plan, they can. It's just that it will bankrupt them. And then he went on further to say, under my plan, electric rates would necessarily skyrocket. We all took that into consideration. Then the Clean Power Plan came out. And we all saw that this was going to be something that would, if put into law and taken effect, affect every single Virginian. Because their electricity rates would necessarily skyrocket. That's why we did what we did. Put a freeze on it. Now, I know some of my friends on the other side of the aisle would never have thought that we have the current president in there today. See, we don't disagree about that on that side. But I'm telling you, we thought we would win, but necessarily that the Clean Power Plan wouldn't be in effect, and that's why we're here now debating it. You could be for this bill or against this bill, and I'm not arguing one way or the other. That's not my point of rising and standing about this. But I must credit the gentleman and the people that have worked so hard on this bill and trying to find a comprehensive solution. I give them that credit. But they're not doing it because they deceived the Virginians. or that they screwed up. They're doing right now what they believe is the right thing to do because what they did, what we all did when we voted for the rate freeze was, or most of us did, was because we thought it was the right thing to do. And those that voted against it thought it was the right vote to take when they voted no. Let us not be caught up in something that does not exist. Nobody voted for that rate freeze to deceive people or to give Dominion some big, giant bonus. We did it because we thought it was the right thing to do. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the senator. Other than the patron, do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 966? Seeing now the senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. President. Not to belabor the point, but let me just say a few things here. I don't know about the 1903 convention, but I do know in 1903 there was no electricity deployed throughout Virginia. So I don't know how the convention was feeling about the 1903. But the statement that every other southern state had their rates go down, but Virginia didn't, is patently false. Your rates went down. There was a fuel rider in there, and your rates went down because the cost of fuel went down. So that's just patently false and untrue. As far as comparing our electric rates to the rest of the nation, let me say a few things, okay? We're not blessed like the Northwest continental United States. We don't have a Columbia River rushing through us and be able to produce hydroelectric power. It'd be nice if we did, but the reality is we don't. When you have hydroelectric power, you pay nothing for fuel and you run it through turbines, guess what? You have some very, very low electric rates. We don't have that natural terrain conditions. What we do have is a great fuel mix here in Virginia. We have a combination of nuclear, a receding level of coal, and an increasing level of natural gas. The question is, are we going to bring renewables into the mix? This bill accomplishes that, and this bill does that. So, Mr. President, I will go through and say that, and it's one thing to say, and when you start comparing Virginia's rates to the rest of the nation's rates, then you better stop and look at the investor-owned utility rates vis-a-vis the co-op rates. And nowhere is that more dramatic than in Northern Virginia. And the rates that the people pay in Loudoun County vis-a-vis the rates that people pay in Fairfax County. Loudoun County is under the Northern Virginia Electric Co-op. Pays significantly more residential, significantly more residential rates than the people that live a mile away in Fairfax County. So if we start examining, we start looking, and I heard this, well, we don't have this problem with co-ops. Maybe we ought to start looking at co-ops and asking ourselves why those rates are so much higher. Maybe that's food for next year. I don't know. I do resent the remarks I heard from the senator from Chesterfield. That bill was brought up. It was a great period of uncertainty. We had no idea where we were going. The initial cut, the first set of rules before they finalized them, and that's what we had, would have caused an immediate shutdown of coal plants, would have caused an immediate reaction of stranded costs, and would have caused an immediate having to build new generation to replace that, which, depending on which estimate you took under account, but even our own state corporation commission at that time estimated an additional $2 billion. Our own state corporation commission estimated that. So I do resent those remarks. Absolutely, I resent those remarks. But, Mr. President, I'll sit there and I'll look at this and I'll go by what I said earlier. This is a bill to look towards the future. What's gone is over. As we look forward, is this where we want to go? And I would submit to you, Mr. President, that the majority of this body seems that's the way to go. So I would, again, renew my motion that the bill pass.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall Senate Bill 966 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 26, noes 13.
Ayes 26, noes 13. Senate Bill 966 passes.
Senate Bill 970.
Mr. President.
Sorry, Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Having voted on the prevailing side by which Senate Bill 896 passed, I now move that we reconsider that vote.
On page 21, the question is, shall the vote by which Senate Bill 896 passed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The motion is agreed to. The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Mr. President, having previously explained the bill, I move the bill pass.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall Senate Bill 896 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 26, noes 12.
Ayes 26, noes 12. Senate Bill 896 passes.
Senate Bill 970, a bill relating to official designations, state grape.
Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill pass. Speaking to the bill.
Thank the senator. You have the floor. Senator James, City County, want to be recognized?
Mr. President, I have a substitute motion. My favorite vintenier and sommelier has requested that if we're going to look at this as a state policy, that the Rules Committee needs to re-examine it. So I would respectfully ask that the bill be re-referred to the Committee on Rules.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall Senate Bill 970 be re-referred to the Committee on Rules? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill will be re-referred to the Committee on Rules. Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was hoping we could take up Senate Bill 46 that we temporarily passed by.
Yes, Senator, on page 17.
Yes, Mr. President, I would ask that...
Senate Bill 46. Senator has the floor.
1 second, Mr. President. I think the clerk's trying to get that up. Mr. President, I would ask the passage of the bill and speaking to that.
Senator, be at ease. Okay. Senator, we need to take up the prior bill. As this one's out of order, we'll come back to your bill. Is that okay?
Mr. President, it's your prerogative. Yes, sir.
I thank the senator. Madam Clerk.
On page 12, Senate Bill 261.
Senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move that the Senate reconsider the vote by which Senate Bill 261 was ordered to be engrossed and advanced to its third constitutional reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the vote by which the bill was ordered and engrossed and advanced to its third reading be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The motion is agreed to. Senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
Mr. President, first, an inquiry of the clerk. Has the amendment been distributed?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator.
With that, I would move the waiving of the reading of the amendment.
Question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendment is waived. Senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. President. If you look at the floor amendment, you will see that it narrows the bill a little more so that no longer are the other professional opportunities there, and now only can a full-time media specialist be used in this category. And so I would move the amendment be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the floor amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor amendment is agreed to. The senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move that Senate Bill 261 be engrossed and advanced to its third constitutional reading.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third constitutional reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading. Senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
Mr. President, I would move that we suspend the rules and dispense with the third constitutional reading of Senate Bill 261.
Question is, shall the rules be suspended and the reading of the third constitutional reading be dispensed with? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 2.
Ayes 37, noes 2. The rules are suspended and the third constitutional reading is dispensed with. The senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now that we've got Senate Bill 261 before you, I would move its passage.
Senator, like to speak to the bill?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Senator has the floor.
Senate Bill 261 is a bill that came to me from local superintendents, school superintendents in my district that would like to be able to, instead of having 2 librarians, they would like the option of using the resources to have 1 librarian and a full-time media specialist. They believe this will better help them address their students' needs. This doesn't affect the funding that the schools receive. Not a dollar sign changes anywhere, but this provides more local flexibility. So those of you that believe our local school divisions should be given more flexibility, this is a good bill for you, and I hope that we will pass the bill.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose is Senator from Western Fairfax? Senator Marsden rise.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rise to speak against the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the gentleman taking some of the job descriptions out, which I had difficulty locating. But one of the first things you see when you look for the definition of a media specialist is one of the typical criteria is to be a librarian. And an instructional, resource teacher, is certainly there to do what librarians are already doing. I've heard from a number of librarians in my district who said these are the kinds of things we already do. And what I'm afraid of here is the mischief that can go down that I have experienced myself running a school program on a local level where the school system used the juvenile detention center where I worked to sometimes get rid of a problem teacher and get them out of the regular public schools. And I'm afraid that's what might happen here is somebody's an unsuccessful classroom teacher will be moved to the library because of the lower qualifications required for some of these positions, and that's what we would have. I don't think it gives greater. I think it gives greater flexibility, but greater flexibility to minimize the qualifications required of our librarians who do all of these things. They go into classrooms. They work to improve instructional skills of teachers. They are media specialists. They do all kinds of things. And I don't think we need to lower the standards for our librarians and the work that they do here in Virginia. So I would ask that we vote against the bill.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose is the Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain rise?
Mr. President, rise to speak in favor of the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, I often sound like a broken record. It's a testament to my insanity that I come back year after year. Well, maybe that I come back year after year, but also that I bring charter school legislation year after year. And, it's been an interesting experience. It's evolved. And I hear the same argument every year by the education establishment. By teachers, by the Virginia Education Association, by the School Boards Association, by the superintendents. They all stand up and they say, we love some of what you're trying to accomplish, but just give us some more flexibility as to how we're going to run our public schools, and we'll be able to accomplish more. This is exactly that. We're not changing any of the funding. We're just saying that this school has some option and some opportunity to reallocate some of those library funds in the event that they don't need the 2 full-time librarians and they can maybe use a multimedia person or something else. You either trust your public school personnel or you don't. And what I hear from some who have voiced opposition is, we don't trust them. We don't trust our principals. We don't trust our school boards. Well, I trust them. I think that they do a good job, and they really try to do a good job, and we ought to give them just a little bit of flexibility. They ask for it. Give it to them.
I thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 261? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 261 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 22, noes 17.
Ayes 22, noes 17. Senate Bill 261 passes.
Returning to page 17, Senate Bill 486.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. Speaking of 486.
The senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I asked the bill pass, and speaking to that.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, 486 has now been cut up and carved up, and it does four things. One, it changes the hours in which distillery, fictitious stores, or if you want to call them ABC stores, which they really aren't, but I don't even want to get in that discussion. They will have the ability to change their hours on Sunday from 1 p.m. down to 10 a.m. This would allow them to open their doors a little earlier, and as Mr. President knows, since he ran statewide, they're scattered around the state, but they often are destination locations to which people have to drive hours to get to, and this would allow them a little more time and operating hours in which to bring more money into the Commonwealth. The second thing it does is it changes from 4 to 8 the amount of banquet licenses they have, so they can certainly go out and try to produce more of what they are trying to earn. 75% of the 10 varieties of alcohols that they use for mixers must be manufactured on the premises where they distill these things. And the fourth thing it does is it just clarifies some technical language in there that says basically how many ounces that they can serve in their tasting rooms. They say per day because that wasn't technically in there. Mr. President, that is the bill in its gutted form, and I ask the bill pass.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw, rise? No problem. Do any other senators wish to be heard on Senate Bill 486? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 486 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 26, noes 13.
Ayes 26, noes 13. Senate Bill 486 passes.
Turning to page 22, uncontested calendar, House bills on second reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move all the Senate bills on the second reading on the uncontested calendar be engrossed and advanced to the third reading in the block after the adoption of any amendments.
Senator, sorry, we're doing House uncontested.
Got to hit the button again.
House bills.
Mr. President, I move that all of the House bills on the second reading on pages 22 through 24, including House Bill 125 through House Bill 1007, that the rules of the Senate be suspended and the second constitutional reading of the titles be dispensed with.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the rules be suspended in the second reading of the titles of the House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 22 through 24, HB 125 through HB 1007, be dispensed with? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The reading of the titles is dispensed with. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would now move that all the bills be passed by for the day, sir.
I thank the senator. Question is, shall the House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars now on third reading be passed by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Mr. President.
Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Pete.
Yes, I would ask that Senate Bill 334 go by for the day.
We haven't gotten there yet.
We're not there yet.
Did I say that? Okay. Which
We're
one
getting
was
there.
it? Oh, sorry. He hadn't called me.
All right. I thank the senator. Speaking to the motion, the question is, shall the House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars now on third reading be passed by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills will go by for the day.
Uncontested calendar, Senate bills on second reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, with the exception of Senate Bill 334 on page 24, I would move that all of the remaining Senate bills on the second reading on the uncontested calendar, which would include all Senate bills on pages 24 through 31, including Senate Bill 334 through Senate Bill 954, be engrossed and advanced to the third reading in the block after the adoption of any amendments. If any senator would like to remove a bill from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the number of that bill.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall all Senate bills on second reading on the uncontested calendar on pages 24 through 31, Senate Bill 356 through Senate Bill 954, be engrossed in advance to the third reading in the block after the adoption of the amendments thereto, and that any senator desiring to remove a bill from the block do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to.
Senate Bill 356, reported from the Committee on Local Government. Senate Bill 402, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute and from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, with the recommendation it be rejected, I move that we agree to the Courts of Justice substitute.
Thank the senator. With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no.
No.
The noes have it. The substitute is rejected. The senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that the body agree with the substitute from the Committee on Finance.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the substitute from the Committee on Finance be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. The senator from Hanover. Oh, we're in the block, I believe. This one's still in the block. Thank the senator.
Senate Bill 403, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute and from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
Mr. President.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, I would move that Senate Bill 403 come out of the block and go by for the day. There's some language when it came through committee in that bill and the bill Senator from Lynchburg recognized Senate Bill 334 that we need to fix on Monday.
Thank the senator. Without objection, Senate Bill 403 will come out of the block and go by for the day.
Senate Bill 426, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute and from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
Junior Senator from Loudoun County, Senator Wexton.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the recommendation that it be rejected, I move that the substitute from the Courts of Justice Committee be agreed to.
Thank the senator. With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the committee substitute from the Courts of Justice Committee be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no.
No.
The noes have it. The committee substitute is rejected. Junior Senator from Loudoun County, Senator Wexton.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that the substitute from the Committee on Finance be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute from the Committee on Finance be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute from the Committee on Finance is agreed to.
Senate Bill 448, reported from the Committee on Finance with amendments.
Senator from Russell, Senator Chafin.
Mr. President, I move that the committee amendments from the Committee on Finance be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
Senate Bill 487, reported from the Committee on Finance. Senate Bill 562, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute and from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that the substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute from the Committee on the Courts of Justice be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that the finance amendment be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the finance amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The finance amendment is agreed to.
Senate Bill 652, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with a substitute, and from the Committee on Finance with a substitute, and there is a floor substitute.
Senator from Prince William County, Senator McPike.
Mr. President, and I'll need the body's assistance as we move through, and I move that we, with the recommendation that we reject the substitute from general laws, I move the substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the committee substitute from the Committee on General Laws and Technology be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no.
No.
The noes have it. The substitute is rejected. The senator from Prince William, Senator McPike.
Mr. President, again, with the recommendation that the substitute be rejected, I move the substitute from Finance be approved.
With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the substitute from the Committee on Finance be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no.
No.
The noes have it. The substitute from the Committee on Finance is rejected. Senator from Prince William County, Senator McPike.
Mr. President, I move that we waive the reading of the floor amendment.
Question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendment is waived. Senator from Prince William, Senator McPike.
Mr. President, I move we agree to the floor substitute and speaking to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this is actually what was agreed to, and the Committee of Finance. I've conferred with the Chair of Rules as well as Senate Finance staff, but due to some clerical issues of how the motions were filed, this corrects all those issues. This, in fact, was adopted by this Committee on Finance, and move that we adopt the substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the floor substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor substitute is agreed to.
Senate Bill 677, reported from the Committee on Local Government. Senate Bill 750, reported from the Committee on Local Government. Senate Bill 821, reported from the Committee on Local Government with a substitute.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move that the committee substitute be adopted.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted.
Senate Bill 900, reported from the Committee on Finance. Senate Bill 954, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute, and from the Committee on Finance with a substitute, and there is a floor substitute.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, mindful it's 1:37, I respectfully request to remove the bill from the block and pass it by for the day, sir.
Without objection, Senator, Senate Bill 954 will be removed from the block and go by for the day. Question is, shall the Senate bills be engrossed in advance to their third reading? That is all bills except for Senate Bill 954, Senate Bill 403. And Senate Bill 334. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills are engrossed in advance to their third reading.
Regular calendar, Senate bills on second reading. Senate Bill 159, a bill relating to the Commonwealth's lien for payment of medical services limitations. Reported for the Committee on Finance with amendment, and there is a floor substitute.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move that the Committee on Finance's amendment be adopted.
Question is, shall the committee amendment be adopted? Oh.
If he wants to get to his substitute, he's got to reject.
Sorry, Senator. I believe you have to reject the amendment in order to get to your substitute. That's what you'd like to do?
Okay. All right. I apologize. I move that with the recommendation that the Committee on Finance's amendment be rejected, I move that it be adopted.
Thank the senator. With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the committee amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The noes have it. The committee amendment is rejected. Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
It's getting late, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that the floor amendment, reading of the floor amendment be waived.
Question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendment is waived. Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, since the Committee for Courts of Justice reported the bill, there's been a change in federal law which actually requires a change in the original bill as reported by the Courts of Justice Committee. We spent the last several days reviewing the change in the federal law as provided by the Attorney General's office, and we've sat down and figured out how we can devise a substitute that would conform both with federal law and pre-existing state law on this issue. That's basically what this substitute does. I could walk you through the details, but I doubt anybody wants to hear that. So with that simple explanation, Mr. President, I move that the floor substitute be adopted.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose does the Senator from James City County rise?
Mr. President, if the gentleman would yield for a question.
Will the Senator yield?
Yeah, Mr. President, I'd be happy to yield.
Senator yields. Senator has the floor.
Yeah.
My question to the gentleman would be, after you complete your floor substitute and any other amendments, will the Senate financial contingency clause remain?
Mr. President, yes, it does. It has an enactment clause that the provisions of this act will not become effective unless an appropriation affecting the purposes of the act is appropriated in 2018.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the floor substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor substitute is adopted. Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move that the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 625, a bill relating to consumer finance companies, loans, licensing. The committee substitute has been adopted by the Senate.
Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Servell.
Mr. President, I move the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 312, a bill relating to solar services agreements, cooperative procurement. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with a substitute, and there is a floor amendment.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move that the bill be passed by for a day.
Without objection, Senate Bill 312 will be passed by for the day.
Senate Bill 878, a bill relating to mental health services in local and regional jails. Reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services with amendment, and from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Please let that pass by for the day.
Without objection, Senate Bill 878 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 26, a bill relating to method of nominating party candidates, certain incumbents to determine method. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
Senator from Northern Chesapeake, Senator Spruill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 219, a bill to provide for the submission to the voters of a proposed amendment to Section 6 of Article 10 of the Constitution of Virginia relating to property tax, exemption for flooding remediation, abatement, and resiliency. Reported from the Committee on Finance.
The Senator from Accomack, Senator Lewis.
Mr. President, move that Senate Bill 219 be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 290, a bill relating to affordable dwelling unit ordinances. Reported from the Committee on Local Government with a substitute.
The junior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move adoption of the committee substitute.
Thank the senator. All right. Hearing things. Sorry. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted. The junior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 353, a bill to authorize the Department of Conservation and Recreation to convey certain property adjacent to the White Oak Technology Park and Elko Tract Road to the Economic Development Authority of Henrico County. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with amendment and also from the Committee on Finance.
The junior senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the amendment from the Courts of Justice Committee be adopted.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. The senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill be engrossed and passed to its third constitutional reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 394, a bill relating to establishment of the Office of the Qualified Education Loan Ombudsman. Reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute, and reported from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that the substitute from the Committee on Education and Health be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute from the Committee on Education and Health be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howe.
I move that the amendment from the Committee on Finance be agreed to.
The question is, shall the committee amendment from the Committee on Finance be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to. Senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 397, a bill relating to Hampton Roads Coastal Resiliency Authority. Reported from the Committee on Local Government with a substitute.
Senator from Accomack, Senator Lewis.
Mr. President, move the committee substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. The senator from Accomack, Senator Lewis.
Mr. President, move that the bill be engrossed and passed on to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 559, a bill relating to the Uniform Military and Overseas Voters Act, secure return of voted military overseas ballots by electronic means pilot program. Reported from the Committee on Finance.
Junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeSteff.
Mr. President, I move the bill be engrossed and passed to its third constitutional reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third constitutional reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 565, a bill relating to DNA analysis upon conviction of certain misdemeanors. Reported from the Committee on Finance with amendment.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that the finance amendment be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to. Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshane.
Mr. President, I would ask that the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 591, a bill relating to post-election risk-limiting audits, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections with substitute.
The senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. The senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Mr. President, I move that it be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 644, a bill relating to DNA analysis after arrest, reported from the Committee on Finance with amendment.
Senator from Prince William, Senator McPike.
Mr. President, I move that the committee amendment be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those all opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to. Senator from Prince William, Senator McPike.
Mr. President, I move that the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 656, a bill relating to the Virginia College Savings Plan, prepaid tuition contracts, reported from the Committee on Finance.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 680, a bill relating to special fee to fund emergency services, Highland County, reported from the Committee on Local Government, and we have a floor substitute.
Senator from Bass, Senator Deeds.
Mr. President, I move that the reading of the floor substitute be waived.
Question is, shall the reading of the floor substitute be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor substitute is waived. Senator from Bath, Senator Deeds.
Mr. President, I move adoption of the floor substitute. And speaking to that briefly,
Senator has the floor.
The floor substitute simply redefines the beneficiary of this bill from the name of the county to a county of less than 3,000 inhabitants.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the floor substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor substitute is adopted. Senator from Bath, Senator Deeds.
Mr. President, I move that the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 684, a bill relating to removal of snow and ice, county executive form of government, reported from the Committee on Local Government.
Senator from Bath, Senator Deeds.
Mr. President, I move that the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 715, a bill relating to carrying a concealed handgun, firefighters and emergency medical services providers, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute and reported from the Committee on Finance.
Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Mr. President, I move that the amendment be the substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. The senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Mr. President, I move that the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third constitutional reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third constitutional reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 751, a bill relating to localities and school divisions, posting of register of funds expended, reported from the Committee on Local Government.
Senior Senator from Richmond City, Senator Sturdivant.
Mr. President, I move that we engross and advance the bill to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 774, a bill relating to partition, private auction of property. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute, and we have a floor substitute.
Senator from Russell, Senator Chafin.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the recommendation that it be rejected, I move the I move the committee substitute.
Thank the senator. With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The noes have it. The committee substitute is rejected. Senator from Russell, Senator Chafin.
Mr. President, I move that we waive the reading of the floor substitute.
The question is, shall the reading of the floor substitute be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor substitute is waived. Senator from Russell, Senator Chafin.
I move the adoption of the floor substitute, and speaking to that measure.
Senator has the floor.
This bill is an amendment to the existing partition statute, and this amendment allows for one or more defendants, once they are served in a partition suit, to file an election to purchase the subject property at the fair market value. The petition for election, if filed, must be filed within 60 days of service and then heard within 60 days of filing. At the hearing, the petitioner must demonstrate financial ability to complete the purchase and an irrevocable letter of credit drawn on a bank or a deposit of funds with the clerk in the amount of at least 150% of the tax assessed value creates a prima facie case of financial ability. If the purchase fails for any reason, the court may award reasonable attorney fees and court costs against the party who failed to go through with the election, and the case would then proceed under the other existing modes of partition. That is the amendment.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the floor substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor substitute is adopted. Senator from Russell, Senator Chafin.
Mr. President, I move that the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 820, a bill relating to voter registration by political party affiliation, primary elections, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
The senior senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill be engrossed and passed to its third reading.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 825, a bill relating to State Board of Elections, membership, appointment of Commissioner of Elections, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections with a substitute.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move that the committee substitute be adopted.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted. Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Now, Mr. President, I move that the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 839, a bill relating to turns in certain residential areas, resident stickers, reported from the Committee on Local Government with amendment.
Senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the amendment be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to. The senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 883, a bill relating to income tax, modification for certain companies and subtraction for their employees, local grants. Reported from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move Senate Bill 883's committee substitute.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you again, Mr. President. I now move that we engross and advance Senate Bill 883 to its third constitutional reason.
Is that a motion?
I now move that we engross and advance 883 to its third constitutional reading. Reading. I said reason?
I thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third constitutional reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third constitutional reading.
Senate Bill 899, a bill to convey to the County of Clark the Camp 7 parcel located in Clark County.
Love you.
Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute and from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It just came to my attention that we have a technical change that needs to be made in the designation of the property description. So I need to ask that that please go by for the day.
Without objection, Senate Bill 899 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 926, a bill relating to employment of special counsel by the Attorney General or Governor. Reported from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I would ask that the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. The Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I would ask that the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 950, a bill relating to interstate natural gas pipelines, Department of Environmental Quality Review, upland construction. Reported from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Mr. President, I move that the Finance Committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. The Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Bill 972, a bill relating to vested rights. Reported from the Committee on Local Government with a substitute.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I would move that the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Bill 976, a bill relating to party to determine method of nominating its candidates for office, exceptions. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections, and there is a floor amendment.
Mr. President, I
Junior
move the
Senator
floor.
from Virginia Beach, Senator D. Steph. Sorry.
It's Friday. I just wanted to hurry up. Mr. President, I move the floor amendment.
First, we need to waive the
Mr.
reading.
President, I waive the reading of this fine, wonderful bill.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendment is waived. Junior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator D. Steph.
Mr. President, I move the floor amendment.
Does the Senator want to speak to it?
Speaking to that floor amendment, based on feedback from my friends on the other side of the aisle, the gentleman from Fairfax and the good gentleman from Roanoke City, I decided that it was time to fix this good, fine, wonderful bill and add for specifically in cases of a general election. And with that, that's this wonderful bill.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the floor amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor amendment is adopted. Junior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator D-Step.
Mr. President, I move this bill be engrossed and moved on to its third constitutional reading.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third constitutional reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third constitutional reading.
Senate Bill 993, a bill relating to local planning commission's proposed plats, reported from the Committee on Local Government with a substitute.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee substitute.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted. Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we engross and advance to its third reading.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Uncontested calendar, Senate bills on first reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move all the Senate bills on the first reading on both the uncontested and regular calendar, which would include all Senate bills on pages 45 through 53, including Senate Bill 16 through Senate Bill 953, that the rules of the Senate be suspended and that the first constitutional reading of the titles be dispensed with.
I thank the Senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended in the first reading of the titles of Senate bills on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 45 through 53, Senate Bill 16 through Senate Bill 953, be dispensed with? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, no 0.
Ayes 38, no 0. The reading of the titles is dispensed with. The Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, I would now move all the bills which found themselves on the second reading be passed by for the day, sir.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the Senate bills on the uncontested and regular calendars now on second reading be passed by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills will go by for the day.
Uncontested calendar, Senate Joint Resolutions on second reading. Senate Joint Resolution 76, proposing an amendment to Section 6-A of Article 10 of the Constitution of Virginia relating to real property tax exemption. Reported from the Committee on Finance.
Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move it be engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall SJR 76 be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. SJR 76 is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Senate Joint Resolution 99, confirming appointments by the governor of certain persons communicated January 22, 2018. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
Someone want to see if the senator is available? Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
I respectfully ask that the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading, sir.
I thank the Senator. The question is, shall SJR 99 be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. SJR 99 is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Regular calendar, Senate Joint Resolution on second reading. Senate Joint Resolution 21, proposing an amendment to Section 6 of Article 10 of the Constitution of Virginia relating to property tax exemption for flooding, remediation, abatement, and resiliency. Reported from the Committee on Finance.
Senator from Accomack, Senator Lewis.
Mr. President, I move that SJR 21 be engrossed and advanced on to its third reading.
I thank the Senator. The question is, shall SJR 21 be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. SJR 21 is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Uncontested calendar, Senate Joint Resolution on first reading. Senate Joint Resolution 100, confirming appointments by the governor of certain persons communicated January 22, 2018.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
President, does that mercifully conclude the calendar?
Madam
Thus
Clerk.
ended the reading of the calendar.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules be suspended and SR 22 be taken up for immediate consideration, please.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and SR 22 be taken up for immediate consideration? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 0.
Ayes 38, no 0. The rules are suspended to take up the resolution for immediate consideration. The clerk will please read the title.
Senate Resolution Number 22, celebrating the life of Lieutenant H.J. Cullen III.
Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Mr. President, I move the resolution be agreed to, please.
Thank the senator. All those in favor of agreeing to the memorial resolution, please rise. The resolution is agreed to. Is there any other business to come before the Senate? Would Senator Stanley like to be heard? Just wanted to check. The clerk will report any announcements on the desk.
Today, Friday, February 9th, the Committee on Transportation will meet immediately upon adjournment at the chairman's desk. The Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources will meet immediately upon adjournment of Transportation at the chair's desk. Monday, February 12th, the Committee for Courts of Justice will meet at 8 a.m. Senate Room A in the Pocahontas Building. The Republican caucus will meet at 11:30 a.m. in Senate Room 2.
Except not really. Half hour.
Half hour before session, which would be 10 o'clock. So Republican caucus will meet at 10 o'clock, Senate Room 2. Democratic caucus will meet at 10 o'clock in Senate Room 1. Weekend weather report. Rain is expected across the Commonwealth on Saturday, continuing into Sunday, with temperatures from the high 40s to the low 60s. Have a great weekend. You have 5 shopping days.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. Senator, before I call the senator, I just wanted to mention that one of our own, Senator Dance, will be celebrating her 29th birthday tomorrow. And so we want to wish her a happy birthday tomorrow. Thank you, Senator. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, because of the senator's birthday, I would move that the Senate do now adjourn to reconvene on Monday at 10:30 a.m.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall the Senate adjourn until 10:30 a.m. on Monday? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The chair is uncertain. We'll have a recorded vote. No. The ayes have it. The Senate stands adjourned until 10:30 a.m. on Monday.